Jose, what are you doing?
I thought I was gonna get a dramatic entrance, but I guess not.
Oh, your handwriting is just your hand's accent.
Jose, do you?
All right, man.
Do you drink?
Do I drink?
Yeah.
Alcohol?
Every once in a while.
All right.
You should get Trulies for this.
I was gonna say you should grab like a beer or something.
Oh, let me go grab a drink.
Grab 5.
Austin, you don't have a drink? Who the fuck
No,
are you?
dude, I
Who are
just
you?
got here.
Okay, are we ready?
Go ahead.
Welcome to Indistinct Chat.
What are we doing?
I should have taken an edible before this.
You still can. Welcome to Indistinct Chatter. I'm Tanner.
I'm Austin.
I'm the one and only Griffin Riley.
I'm Vlad.
And I'm Jose.
Wait a minute.
Who's this?
Wait a
Who the
minute.
fuck is this guy?
Imposter.
Jose, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
As you might have noticed, we got an extra person. This is our friend Josue. Vlad and I went to high school with Josue. Actually, Vlad, why don't you introduce Josue?
This is Jose.
All right.
Why don't we let the man introduce himself? He knows himself better than any of us ever will.
That's debatable.
What kind of
Jose?
tacos you have today, Jose?
Fuck off.
How many tacos did I have today? I had 4.
What kind?
Oh, I had pollo and al pastor.
Nice.
And did you
See?
know this despite them being homemade and or bought
See,
somewhere?
so the issue with this, Griffin, is it's only happening because we had a conversation about it. But if you had naturally asked him before you guys chose to yell at me, that wouldn't necessarily be how he answered.
No, as a person who traditionally eats Mexican tacos, I usually know what meat I'm getting because I know I don't like tripa, but I love cabeza al pastor and sometimes
cabeza is so
carne
good.
asada.
Mm.
Just to
That good
prove
head
that, Vlad, you were in the wrong on this. So if we keep this in the show, I figured that I'll catch up the audience. When we were prepping for the show, Vlad, he was sitting there having some tacos. He's like, oh, yeah, I have some tacos here. And I go, oh, what kind of tacos are they? And he says, I don't know. They're homemade.
No, that's not what I said.
What did he say?
He said they're homemade.
I finished my tacos and then I said, I'm going to put this plate away. I just ate some tacos. And you went, oh, what kind are they? I said homemade, took my headset off and went to go clean my plate. There are 2 reasons here. The first reason is they were, no, you said, I don't know. And I know what kind they were. They were homemade. So the first reason I said homemade was because they were homemade. I didn't get them anywhere. The second reason I said homemade and I took my headset off was because I didn't want to talk to you. And so I just chose to leave because I didn't want to talk to you about what kind of food I ate. So anyway.
All of this to say, the natural answer in that case is I had a beef taco. I had carne asada. I had pollo. I had literally anything not homemade.
His
But
point
they
is he didn't want to fucking talk to you about
So
it.
they were homemade
care.
tacos. They were homemade. I didn't get them anywhere. And yes, they were beef tacos. I told you that after. But
After like 10
that's the
minutes of
point
us
of
screaming at you.
No, I literally came back from washing the plate and then you guys chose anger. And if you guys want to tussle.
So I got a question. Jose, I don't know you. I don't know a lick about you. You're just a guy. You're just a guy in a chair. You're just a dude with a face. Who are you? Why are you on my show, son?
My show.
It is his show.
You're,
It's also
you're
our
lowest
show.
billing, Griffin.
What's that?
You're lowest billing.
But
Fuck
so
off.
is Sam Jackson on the Avengers posters.
But he
So
gets an and or a the or with or whatever.
I think Griffin's and, isn't he?
No.
Damn. Sucks to be
which is
you,
just his
homie.
name.
I also have cutting floor, so because I edit sometimes, so I can just completely gaslight Vlad and
You don't have cutting floor
get
on
him
this
out
one.
of
You don't have
every-
cutting
Edit
floor on this
Vlad
one.
completely out of the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be crazy.
I mean, he's not editing this episode, so it doesn't matter.
Jose, who the fuck are you?
I'll cutting floor you out of the show. It's fine. We'll replace him with Jose. I don't care.
Oh my god.
I'm in school. I can't commit to this.
It's once a week.
None of us can commit to this.
All right, so who am I? My name's Jose de Jesus Jasso Jr. I have 4 J's in my name, and that's usually what distinguishes me from the rest of the Jose's out in the world. Because there's a lot. I was never mind, I shouldn't share that story.
Well, now you have to.
Nah, it put Vlad in a bad light.
Ah.
We love that.
No,
here.
it doesn't. Let's hear it.
So I first knew about Vlad after he kind of stole one of my best homies' girls.
Okay,
and
let's skip this.
I got to know Vlad and Tanner through theater in high school, which was a great time. And then after that, I went to SDSU, got a full-time, full-ride scholarship, got my English degree paid for, and now I'm still at SDSU pursuing an MFA in fiction writing, Masters of Fine Arts, and hopefully by my end in 2 years, I will leave with a publishable book or novel series.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's sick.
Oh yeah. Why is it that this kind of goes back to a question that we had? I don't know if it was on last week's episode
It was
that we
last week.
recorded. Yeah.
Well, no. It was the last one.
The last one that
came
just
out.
came out. Okay, so
Yeah.
episode 8-2.
Yes.
Got you. Why is it that writing is your thing? Because our conversation last week was like, why did we all choose our respective mediums? Why we're into that. So why is writing what gets you off?
So in theater, I really liked acting, and I was really good at comedic relief. And then I tried my hand at directing, but I kind of felt weird, like telling people what to do. So when I got to San Diego State, they kind of introduced me to creative writing, and it made me realize a lot of things, especially after taking like some Chicano courses of me not really being able to see somebody like me in media or in books. And that kind of sparked like a lot of looking back in my life and like, why didn't I like to read? Oh, not a lot of characters really spoke Spanish or looked brown or like were really had distinguishing features like me. So I met Matt De La Pena, who also came from San Diego, from National City, and he's like, well, then just write it. And then I was like, you know what? You're right. So that's what I spend most of my time doing now. And I think it's kind of what drives me. I know there's a lot of people who don't feel like they're represented in the media. So I've kind of made it like my duty to start writing stories that represent those people, starting with myself and then hopefully bridging out to as many people as I can give a voice to, and then empower them and uplift them to tell their stories.
Do you get sexually aroused in libraries?
Definitely not. Books are still annoyingly bad.
Every time I go in a library, I feel like I have to take a shit. Is that weird?
I get it.
Vlad keeps saying that I'm illiterate, so I can't go into bookstores. And
I didn't start the illiterate joke. Austin started it. I'm just agreeing.
It's not my fault. He chooses not to read certain things. So, you said novel series or book, like one book or a series of books?
Yeah.
Do you have like I don't want you to like obviously tell us like your special sauce, but like, is it like YA novel? Is it like, yeah?
Yeah.
Do people shit on young adult novels all the time? And they're all good. And it's like, you can shit on the Hunger Games all you want to. That shit's fucking fire.
Dude, I was a fan of the
Fire.
Divergent series. The Divergent.
Move this man!
Just series low-key went hard as fuck in my opinion. Granted, I only read one.
He hates it. He's
my
laughing at
sophomore
you.
year. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I know it's trash. It's like it's guilty conscious type trash or a guilty pleasure. Because I read it in my sophomore year for English and I was like, this is fine enough because like I heard that it was easy and I needed like, did you guys your high schools have to do like you had to read and like you'd get points for the reading and all that kind of stuff? Yeah, so I needed something big and easy, and they were like, "All right, take this." And so I read it, and I was like, "Yeah, I did in middle school, especially. Once it was in like AP classes, they just dropped that stuff." But but
AP
yeah,
classes
I read
in Arizona
that.
are like remedial classes for everybody else.
Dude, actually, no. You want to hear something interesting? Is the district that I went to school in? It's actually one of the best AP districts in the world.
Oh,
yeah,
good for
that's
you,
the one thing. And my school is like number 2 in the district.
It's like American history. That's just what they tell them, but it's not the truth.
it's just yeah, buddy. You guys are real smart.
Oh yeah, look at you. You read the book.
That's why Arizona is the way that it is, because they're just like, hey, don't worry about it. We're
You
good.
guys are so smart. Yeah. Good
AP
job,
is
buddy.
just a ploy to get the college board more money anyway.
It's the
Oh, I didn't
College
know that.
Board Industrial Complex. Yeah, because fucking everything goes through College Board. You have to
People
get your
thinking-
ACTs through them, your SATs, and your AP classes all through College Board.
And
They're
Phoenix
monopolies.
AP stands for Arizona Plus.
Don't pay the money to take an AP test. It's fucking pointless. It's
Or the
stupid.
SATs.
But if you're,
No, I mean, if you're not going to college, don't take the SATs. That's for damn sure. I wasted
Yeah,
money
man.
on those.
I didn't.
I got a pretty good grade too, but I was poor and honestly too stupid to go to college. I have ADD.
Well, I mean, you got
Having
it.
ADHD.
ADD doesn't make you dumb.
No. I'm dumb and have ADHD.
There
Yeah,
we
but you
go.
got it.
Did you have?
What
I've
just
been
happened?
watching.
I'm
Shadow and
lagging
Bone.
so badly. So like, I try to say something and then you guys
Oh,
are talking and I didn't know it.
Vlad, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna mention the Alex Rider series. Like, I remember reading that in like middle
those
school.
went so hard,
Those are good.
man.
Like, I
The
love
movie?
the Alex Rider series.
Stormbreaker.
Yeah,
with
there was-
Mickey Rooney.
There was one movie and I
Not really.
didn't like it.
Mickey Rourke. That's
But,
what it was. It was with Mickey Rourke.
Yeah, I grew up loving that. There was like, I think there were 9 entries in the series, and I started with like the 6th entry. Like, I remember getting it because it was a really cool gold cover with this like sweet like space looking logo, and I was like, what is this? It's called Archangel, and I'm like, man, that looks
Yeah.
sweet. So I got it, and it's about this like hotel in space called the Archangel. And I like read it and I was like, wait, I missed like 5 other books. I have to go back. And then I realized the 3rd in the series is called Skeleton Key. I like already owned it and it was on my bookshelf in my room when I was in middle school, but I never read it because I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't know why I own it. And then I went and like read the whole series. Well, I read it up until whatever was out, and then I like read it as
You stopped after that.
I no, I kept.
Oh, you read it
going
as it
until-
came out?
I
Oh.
read it then as it came out. So like the last 3 entries, like Snakehead, which was the 7th one, I think, and then whatever the 8th was, I think it was called like Scorpio Rising or something, or that was the 9th. I can't remember. I read
Scorpio
like,
Rising, yeah.
Yeah, I read to the finale, and it was a great series. And then they made like a spin-off book about this one Russian dude that's in them.
Dude, the last one came out in 2017. Those went for a long time.
What was it called? Was it-
Nightshade.
Does it have like the hammer and sickle, like the Soviet thing on
Let me see.
I read a book called Leviathan that was a series that was really fucking good. It was like this it was like alternate reality World War I, World War II, and it's like these countries use these giant floating monsters as like airships. So
Cool.
gnarly.
That sounds like that one movie, Mortal Machines or something. Well,
Yeah,
what was it called?
it's very similar to Mortal Engines or whatever the fuck that shit was
Yeah.
called.
Mortal Engines, yeah. They're literally
That shit
called
was
Leviathans in like the
trash.
MCU too. Like they're
Yeah,
big,
that
giant.
Dude, Maximum
that-
Ride, the kids with the wings and shit.
Wait.
That was my shit.
Also, I was wrong. The last Alex Rider was announced in 2017, and it came out in 2020. So those books have just kept
That's
going.
crazy.
Yeah,
I know they're making. I heard they're trying to make like a series.
I think it's already.
I think
a
they're like
thing.
2 seasons in,
Oh,
or it got
oh.
canceled.
Okay.
It's either one or the other. It's either like well into the show, or it got canceled after the first season?
No, dude, it just got renewed on November 2020.
What's it
got
called?
renewed for a second season. It's just called Alex Rider, the TV series. It's a Prime Video original, it looks like.
I know
Saw a
that
trailer,
the
it looked
series
terrible.
started with like Point Blank, which is the second book, and it's like this academy where they like train these like assassin kids or something. I don't know.
Did the Kingsman movies? I didn't see the second one, and for that matter, I didn't see the Kingsman either. The
That's not out
spinoff.
yet.
Kingsman hasn't come out.
Okay, it never came out.
No.
Wasn't
it
that
will.
pre-COVID?
Yeah. Well, it
trailer
was
was.
supposed to come out. It was supposed to come out in like August, or sorry,
Edgar
not
Wright
August,
was like, fuck no.
April.
I thought it was supposed to come out like the winter
Edgar Wright.
before COVID.
It's not
hit.
Edgar Wright.
Didn't
It's,
Edgar Wright do the first one?
No,
Mark
it's
Webb.
Mark
Really?
Webb.
I
Yeah,
swear
I'm
to
pretty
God,
sure.
Edgar Wright did the first Kingsman movie. I
No.
No, it's
I thought this whole
Vince, whatever his name is.
Oh, Matthew Vaughn.
Matthew Vaughn.
Or Matthew Vaughn.
Matthew
that's it.
Vaughn.
I knew there was
That's
a
what
V. I thought it
Why
was.
the fuck did I
gonna
say? Why did I
was
think
gonna say
Edgar
Vince
Wright?
You're
Vaughn,
about to
and then
say
I was like,
Vince
Vince
Vaughn?
Vaughn didn't do it. Yeah. Well, I was thinking Vaughn, and then I was trying to like loop it back to him.
You know,
I-
Vince Vaughn
Vince
is like
Vaughn's the shit.
6'6".
I've only seen the first Kingsman movie, but I was watching like I like saw accidentally half of the second one today.
Second one's
So good.
It's really
Edgar
good.
Wright did Baby Driver and World's End and Scott Pilgrim, which are all good movies.
Yeah, Edgar Wright has a fucking repertoire behind him.
He could have
Almost
done
did
it.
Ant-Man.
You have like a
Recipes.
do you have like an idea about what you want to write this, or that you already started writing about? Like, do you have like an elevator pitch?
Kind of. So I have 3 stories I'm working on. Tanner has read the first one, like the very first one I ever wrote, called Driving Miss Bell. And that one's basically about kind of like the power dynamics of being a person of color, and like how typically in those cultures, if you
That's
land,
the camp one, right?
Yeah, the camp one.
Yeah.
If you
Already,
land
Tanner.
a
What?
I didn't change my battery. That's why.
Oh, I've read that one too.
yeah, if you land like a white person, like how that usually like elevates your status and like is a trophy in some sort of way. And when you grow up, you realize that like you were pursuing that for the wrong reason. So that was Driving Miss Bell, which was like my big entry into the writing world. And then my main focus is a story called Coconuts, which is basically my story of growing up brown in a impoverished neighborhood and going to a white school. And in order to succeed, you kind of have to act white. So it's like, living in a world where like you're never gonna be American enough for America, but you're never gonna be Mexican enough for Mexicans. And it's like no matter what, I'm always gonna be Mexican American, but I'll never be enough for either side. So it's just like navigating that, especially through high school. And then Ready Player One inspired me to put people of color in sci-fi, because people of color are hardly in sci-fi. So I want to do one that's like centered around that and kind of flip the narrative of usually aliens who are mistreated by like the lead white science team, and then white people are just like, wow, aliens are just as human as us. And then, if you study that, people realize, oh, aliens are people of color. So
We
then
talked
I
about
want
this on a previous episode that never came out. Like literally it's the exact same thing. That's funny.
yeah, so basically, after Ready Player One, I read this book called Dawn by Octavia Butler, which has Lilith, a single black woman, interact with aliens and kind of like, oh, why doesn't she like humans? And like she was one of the most oppressed people on Earth. So it's like she didn't really have an attachment to humans anyway. And just like flipping that narrative on what if people of color were humans, and then you gave the usual white qualities of like oppression, conquering, all that stuff to aliens, and how would that play out? So
Damn, dog, that's sick. That's really I just love a like you said, like put people of color in sci-fi. It's because it's always like if they're there, it's like they're the sketchy friend or the badass. It's like they're never just like a character. Because even in I was talking about Shadow and Bone, even in Shadow and Bone, there's like this crew, they're the Crows, and like the main guy is like a white guy, and his two sidekicks are black and Indian, and like the Indian girl has like knives, and she like, you know, is like a ninja, and the black dude has guns, and you're like, why can't like the like why can't the just regular guy be like a person of color? It's always like they have to have like this like something about them. They can never just be regular, you know.
Do y'all think that black people, and for that matter all people of color, are always comic reliefs in movies because white people aren't funny?
Possibly.
I think it's because people
feel
okay making fun of people of color.
Well, I was gonna say I think it's rooted in like the whole
minstrel show thing.
Blackface jigaboo minstrel show of being like, oh, you're something to laugh at. So I think that's where it's like that's ultimately the issue with representation, where it's like we're always the funny person, we're always the side person. Like, why can't we just be the
just be a guy, just be like a guy,
be a person.
Yeah. Like it doesn't have to be about me being black or me about being, you know, it's like it could just be like, oh, look, that's a guy.
So actually when I was doing my undergrad for journalism, I was taking a class on like entrepreneurship in journalism, so basically trying to create like new ideas and new products. And we almost got picked up for ours because we had to like do like a whole pitch and like business representation, market research, and all that kind of stuff. And ours was essentially, because I was partnered with the other black girl in class. Actually, there were two black people in class. I apologize. But yeah, the homie
two
Amber.
other black people in class.
Shout out Amber. Yes, two other black people in the class outside of me.
In Arizona. Oh my.
At U of A white ass school, and journalism, a very privileged white program. Because I mean, so much of journalism, like the only reason so many of those people are successful is because they already come from money, so they don't have to worry about their terrible salaries.
Anderson Cooper.
Yeah, and it's like their savior complex where it's like, I need to help the world. Ooh. Whereas black people are like, hey, I'm broke, I need money. You know, I'm gonna be a business student. But anyways, our project was like just something focused on black news. And one thing that we kind of realized is, although every once in a while our programming would have a focus relevant to black people, where it's like, here's the new hip hop song. Ooh, have you seen the new sneaker? Hey, have some fried chicken on us, you know? Like here and there, we would highlight something like uniquely black, like, oh, watch this nigga eat a watermelon in 22 seconds. But for the most part, it was just focused on us. It was just focused on like telling stories, but with black faces, you know, like just as almost like thinking of it as a proactive program of affirmative action in the news, I guess, where it's just like, hey, just give us the news, but I just want a black person telling me it, simply for the sake of representation. It's not that we need the black focused stories all day. And it doesn't need to be all black power, this or that. It's just, hey, we have a black news anchor.
Someone tell that to Lena Waithe. So, Jose, you have a topic that you brought with you today, correct?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I have several topics.
Hit us with the sun.
It's difficult.
Yeah. Anyway,
because I've seen a lot of fucking movies, but there's a lot of movies I haven't seen. Like,
because you're so old. Because we're fucking kids, right?
No, I really like watching movies.
Griffin not looking at the camera or the screen always just makes him seem really upset. Like Griffin will just look down and be like, we're fucking kids, right?
It's because I got the research always open, man.
Of course, your PowerPoint.
Your
PowerPoint. Fucking dick and balls.
What were we talking about before?
Griffin's Googling.
Jose has a topic.
Had a topic.
There's a couple.
Yeah, I have a couple. Something that sparked an interesting conversation recently. What would it take for humans to become like an intergalactic society?
Intergalactic or interstellar?
Intergalactic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
just in our solar system.
So that's interplanetary.
I guess.
Sorry, I'm a nerd. Intergalactic would mean we had to leave the galaxy.
Hey, Austin, when's the last time you threw a fucking football?
Today.
It's
Suck me.
Who are you throwing the pigskin with?
Somebody suck
A
me.
child. There's a
It's
child at the
child.
park.
So my
Next to
quick in on the topic is it's impossible.
To be interplanetary?
Yeah,
It's not.
Okay.
I don't think it would happen.
I think it's gonna happen before you die.
No,
Probably.
dude,
I
we're
don't think
racist
so.
on our own planet. You think we're gonna go and try to meet other species on other planets?
No, interplanetary, man.
Interplanetary.
Mars.
But my point, I don't know. Here's the thing, like, with colonization and the way technology is happening, I think maybe we'll end up getting there. But like, is it just strictly visiting? Is that what we're talking about?
Living
here?
there.
No.
I'm
No, there's no
Personally,
return trip.
Or colonization?
I think
Colonization.
the rich, well, not even the rich, just humans are gonna, obviously we're on the track, we're gonna just completely fuck Earth to the point that
Yeah,
it's
we're
uninhabitable.
gone.
All of the rich are going to move to Mars, like they've been planning and kind of telling us for years. Like
Elysium.
it's just out,
Yeah,
essentially.
Elysium.
Yeah, they're just gonna move to Mars and then we're all gonna die, and that's just like
Yeah,
what
so
it's
are
gonna
they.
be.
Like,
No, they're gonna make it to
They're just
Mars.
gonna die. in
Yeah,
a
but at least you're
cooler
gonna have a
way.
lot more fun doing it.
Yeah, they're gonna be on a rocket ship dying, and they're like, "This is fucking cool."
Like, the solar radiation hits, bro.
See, one thing, I mean, we're getting closer every day. I mean, we do have so many rovers up there right now,
So,
as well as the
basically,
drone rover.
we just put a
wow, I
sixth
was
one up
talking
there.
to scumbag.
Oh, nobody gives a shit.
Well, one thing that's cool is one of the rovers there. If I'm not mistaken, the atmosphere in Mars is based almost entirely of nitrous oxide, and one of our rovers has a bunch of like chemical attachments to it that was able to split the nitrous from the oxide and therefore create O2 in its atmosphere. So there's now like a little bit of breathable oxygen on Mars. It's very inefficient. I think it took weeks to give you about like 15 minutes worth of oxygen. But that is huge. Like, we're doing cool shit up there. But I mean, I feel like most of NASA's operation is just like, hey, here's a cool thing that we could do, but we're never going to have a practical use of. Because I don't see any of that Mars stuff happening in a very tangible way anytime soon. I mean, yeah, people can probably get up there at some point, but I mean, it's going to be ridiculously cost prohibitive, if for no other reason than fuel. It's going to take a lot more once you add a lot of bodies and the supplies per person. But on top of that, I mean, also thinking about once we actually get to that point, I mean, yeah, it's expensive to get your ticket up there, but also remembering the fact that these are rich people who are going to go up there first. But those rich people aren't going to do the work to colonize. So they're going to have to send a bunch of broke fuckers up there as slaves to recolonize the same way that we did here in America.
Also, I'm on my crackhead shit. I feel like they've already started that stuff, and like, I don't think NASA's gonna do anything, but like privately it might. And here's the thing about space: you really can't govern it. Like, how can like the government really can, if someone's privately, investigating or whatever space, like, what are the jurisdictions? Like, how do what?
Have any of you seen Astra?
I have seen that Astra.
Mm-mm.
You know the fucking pirates? That's exactly how space is going to be.
It's
What's
really
it say?
cool.
It's just like international waters. It's the same shit.
There's a guy who technically owns
Pirates
the
and shit.
moon.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, how do we
Well, it's
know
via the program. So you can have jurisdictions and like regulations in the program. My point is kind of like on the topic of colonization, yes, it's inevitable and we're moving towards it. I just don't think a successful colonization will happen in our lifetime. Like, I don't think we'll see that. And I feel like eventually, just with
what's
how
successful to you? Like,
For
what would make
colonization?
like what would make it a successful colonization?
like, oh, okay, people are there and I don't know, they've survived 10 years.
They live there full time and people are being born there probably.
Yeah, probably there. A generation is born there. Maybe that. I don't know. To me, I was just like they survived 10 years. Because I just feel like you'll be siphoning supplies off of Earth, which is also dying. So we'd have to, like the O2 thing that Griffin mentioned. Once you get enough people, or like you watch The Martian, right? And he was a botanist and he like could figure shit out because of that. That's the kind of people that we need to figure that stuff out. But is it, other than the whole thing of cool and we're we're traveling and we want to explore more, is it really worth it? I don't know.
Well,
I personally don't think I don't want to go to Mars.
That was just kind of my point with the whole jurisdiction thing, is like, how do we know that someone like privately isn't already on Mars doing half of, like, how do we know half of Mars could be colonized already and we just don't fucking know, like, the public? Truthfully,
You can see Mars with your naked eye.
Well, no, but what Tanner's meaning more is like it's portrayal through the media, which we don't. I mean, if you look at how the government's handled extraterrestrial encounters and stuff, I was going to bring this up actually on last week's episode, which is going to be episode 9, because literally that day I was talking to a coworker of mine, Aaron. He like brought up how the Pentagon has confirmed that we've like, I didn't mention this last week because I was like, I really want to talk to y'all about this, but I also don't want, I don't know, anyone knocking on my door. But I doubt any government officials watching this show, so it's fine. But who knows? It's too late now. The Pentagon like confirmed that we've encountered like extraterrestrial life and like aliens, for lack of better phrasing, which we've already known. Like that's probably what happened. You have so many different examples.
They declassified a bunch of Navy and Air Force information about UFOs and videos that are like,
there's a video of a naval officer like recording this like triangle ship, and they were the Pentagon was literally like, yeah, that's a UFO.
It's inexplainable to the point where it's like we have no, and this is like these videos from like 2004 at the oldest, and it's like we have no technology, we have no understanding of this technology that could do what we're seeing, and so it's like they haven't said like this is extraterrestrial, but they're saying this is not us and this is not from Earth.
So for context on these videos, if Tanner and Jose, you guys haven't seen it, and so it's not necessarily like they're saying that this is alien. It is literally a UFO is just an unidentifiable flying object. So this
if you're bad at a helicopter is a UFO.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so I mean,
everything in the sky's a UFO to me. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
So this thing is, I mean, hell, technically, if you see a shooting star and you don't know what it is, that's technically a UFO. But so in this video, like the big one that was huge, it was actually huge years ago, and then it became huge again like 1 year ago.
Because Joe Rogan was talking about it.
I think it's Tom DeLonge is from Blink 182. He's a huge
DeLonge. How fucking
DeLonge,
dare you?
My bad. He's
San Diego legend.
My homie's DeLonge one.
Yeah, he's like huge into like space exploration and UFOs and all that kind of stuff. He's actually responsible for a lot of the research that we have these days, interestingly enough. But anyways, he published it years ago and then it got officially declassified. But this video it's like these dudes in like a fighter jet, and they're using their FLIR optics, so like the thermal, and you can see something floating above the ocean at I think like 400 feet, and it's just floating there. And then all of a sudden, no, it does the opposite. It climbs like 10,000 feet and just fucking goes. There's one
that goes straight into the ocean and they never see it again. And you're like, oh, fuck this.
Like, they're in the Earth core.
Yeah, we just don't know what. Yeah, they're in the Pacific.
They're just
Rim.
Gungans down in the fucking down the Earth's core.
But yeah, so like unidentifiable flying objects is a thing. We don't know. I mean, we don't know because it's unidentifiable, but yeah.
It's just
I
don't know. Go ahead.
I seen a UFO.
So UFO is a classification. If it's been released and it said it's a UFO, it's a classification. And what it means is that there's been years of research that's gone into it, and they've sent this information and these videos to scientists and to whomever, and they've been like, can you identify this? Do you know what this is? And they do like thermal tests, and they look at the colors, and like they try to figure out what chemicals are being used for propulsion. And basically all that information comes back and it's inconclusive. It's like, we don't know what kind of propulsion this is using. We don't know what kind of gas it's using. We don't know what this is made of. We don't know where it's from. And then that just basically stays classified, because obviously you can't declassify that kind of shit for the public all the time, because they see this stuff monthly, weekly. Like they on ships, if you like talk to like people you know that are in the Navy, they'll know somebody, or they'll know somebody that knows somebody. It's like, yeah, we saw a pyramid out in the middle of in the ocean leaving Guam. Like not everybody, but people have seen this shit for a long time.
Yeah.
And it was a matter of it being declassified, one, and then enough people saying it so that's to them, you know. But
There's teams.
Tanner has something to say.
Well, no. So I was that just what you said about like them seeing it weekly and stuff. It reminded me a couple weeks ago. I was talking to my old roommate's brother, who was a firefighter in like Northern California, like forests, and he was telling us like he went on for like an hour because he was telling us, he was like, yeah, I didn't used to believe in anything spiritual, ghosts, monsters, anything like that until I started working as a fireman in the forest. And he said that just the shit that they would see,
Forests are the
experience,
craziest fucking thing, man.
he said it was the most like he was like, I don't know how I made it out like without like
Going crazy.
mentally. He was like, yeah, he was like, mentally I don't know how I made it out, because they just constantly saw stuff and they would report it, and then their higher ups were just like, yeah, you'll see some shit. So I feel
The
like
forest
that's
is
the
crazy,
same,
man.
I feel like that's the same with being in like the Navy or something, where, or the Air Force, where you're just fucking flying and then all of a sudden you're like, hey guys, something just lit up red
They're
in the
like,
sky, we don't know what
yeah.
the fuck that is. And they're like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Have you
Like,
guys
oh,
heard
it
of
was
the
red
Kardashev
today.
Scale?
It was blue yesterday.
For what, Jose?
Kardashev Scale.
The Kardashev Scale.
No, what's that?
What's that?
So it's basically
Teach
there was
us.
a scientist, I forgot, Nikolai Kardashev, Soviet astronomer. I have his Wikipedia open right now, but it's basically like the different types of civilizations
Oh, yeah,
that
I
are
know
possible
that.
in like the galaxy. So
Type
like a
1,
type
type 2, and type 3.
1. Yeah, apparently there's more now. There's type 4 and type 5.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but that's not Kardashev's original, so I don't really count it right now.
Yeah, the original was 3.
Yeah. So type 1 is like
Is
fusion
Kardashev still
power.
alive?
No, I don't
No.
think so. I
So
think
why
he's
can't
dead.
we add on to it?
Well, they are.
They
That's what I'm
did.
saying.
No, but Jose was
But
saying he
he-
doesn't consider it
Dude,
canon.
Yeah.
You know what's
'Cause it's
crazy?
not
He died
Kardashev.
last year.
Rest in peace, King. Do you guys know? Oh, sorry. Continue.
Or he died 2 years
Yeah.
ago.
Type 1 is like fusion power, which is I guess what we're achieving. Type 2 is
Nuclear,
the
yeah.
Type 2 is the ability to harness your like if we were
Star.
able to harness the sun's power, then we become a type 2. And then type 3 is every sun, quote unquote, in your galaxy is able to be harnessed, like their energy and their power. And if you're a type 3, that means you're like able to do, I think it was like intergalactic.
Yeah.
And the first civilization to achieve that would be like the one that sets like the terms for every other civilization out there.
So like there's so type 1 is like if you're able to effectively use the resources on your planet without depleting them. So we're not even a type 1. Type 1 would be like if everybody was solar and electric and we were green, we had no carbon footprint. If we were just living harmoniously with the earth and not destroying it, using its resources.
Solar is, wouldn't that technically be?
Well, no, because solar panels, even though they're taking sunlight, it's still at the core of the energy is still fusion. It's still powered
Oh,
ultimately
right.
like by nuclear.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, well, because like solar, like you have to make the things and like
panel.
that, like it's and there's a loss too. It's like, you know, you're not using all of the solar energy. There's like a loss.
Baby.
Entropy, exactly. And type 2 is like you've heard of a Dyson sphere?
Yeah.
So a Dyson sphere is like you build like a structure around a sun and you're using all of the solar energy, and that's like using the hydrogen and the heat and stuff like that. That's type 2. And that's already like out of our comprehension as far as how we would do that. And that's like 2 of 5.
Well, most of this like all of it
like
is.
Even
that's
all
why
of it's
that's why the government hasn't come out and said, hey, this is the weapons that we've been testing on for 30 years that we don't understand because the elements don't exist on our planet.
Yeah.
And here's like the way that this alien looks like from 40 years ago, and this is what these aliens look like, and here's this ship. Because the like public would lose their minds and start writing and start thinking the end of the world's coming and start like killing people.
It's invincible. Who here
because they
hasn't
think
watched
it's the end of the world. Like
That's what I'm saying.
Jose watched
Why?
Invincible?
Because
Yeah, I
nothing
think
happens.
Griffin's the only person.
Okay, and Griffin doesn't give a shit. So,
No, I don't.
spoiler alert: the last episode of Invincible gets the shit kicked out of him by somebody, and he's pretty much dead for like 2 weeks. And he wakes up, and then Cecil like walks him into a door, and they walk into a room, and it's white. Everything's white. And Mark's talking to Cecil, and he's like, "What the fuck? Wait a minute, where are we?" And he goes, "Oh, lights." And then lights cut off, and it's like he can see it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the water you drink has a chemical in it, so you can't see this certain light wavelength. That's how we hide shit from you." It's like there's like when they say that
in the water, baby.
Yeah, when they say that in a TV show, you're like, yeah, they could easily do that to you.
Well, just everything in media. Like all of the jokes and all of the tropes and ideas that we've had about extraterrestrials have had to stem from some form of truth.
Anything that's sci-fi is not sci-fi. It's just not sci-fact.
Are we in the Matrix, baby?
Oh, but what I wanted to say about us going to Mars,
that'd be terrifying.
So I think it'll happen, and my reasoning behind it is the way technology grows, and technology, computing, it's all exponential, right? It doesn't grow it's not scaled. It grows like this. So anytime you have a scientific breakthrough, the next breakthrough is going to be so exponentially larger than that it's like it's going to push us ahead so much quicker, right? And so right now we can like think like, oh, I could see us getting there, but the next scientific breakthrough is going to be like, oh no, we're there. It's like that big of a jump. The jumps aren't small. It's not like baby steps when it comes to science, because every single thing that NASA has done since it's existed, the purpose of it is to get us to live on another planet. Regardless of what they're telling us, it's all this research is to figure out how to get people to live in space. Mining asteroids, solar sails, desalination, terraforming, all that kind of shit that they do here. They're doing that so that we can go live on another planet. And even if it's not like expressly said, it's like you can explore the oceans, but like what's the point of exploring the ocean? Like we live here already. And as much as interesting it would be to know what lives at the bottom of the ocean, and there's so much shit that we don't know. And they say there's like, we've discovered a fraction of a percentage of all the living species that have ever existed, and like the ocean,
something like that. Like we
the
only
ocean's
know about
like
5% of what's
we know.
something.
We've explored like 10% of the ocean, maybe. The ocean is insane, but it's like we live here. Like it's not going in. I mean, it is going somewhere, but
what about hollow Earth theory? I would rather live in hollow Earth than space. TBH.
No, fuck that. No way.
Makes no sense.
The air is all the same. It's not as much.
I think colonization will happen, yes, and it's inevitable. And like you were saying, like the jumps are exponential. I mean, look at how NASA went from like we're nowhere to hey, we're on the moon. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was the jump.
It was
nothing like 60, the Russians pushing you to do shit. Am I right?
Well, and the Russians won everything except landing on the moon.
That whole history, if you want to believe that, man, go ahead. But anyway, I don't think the moon landing was fake, but the whole history of like the space race and all that, I think it's all government bullshit.
It's propaganda.
Well, no, it was part of Cold War theory, or not Cold War practices, where we were doing all this shit to bankrupt the USSR, and that went into the 1980s as well with the Star Wars program, where we said that we had satellites in the air that if Russia ever sent a missile, that we could just blow up their missile wherever we wanted to, whenever we wanted to. So then they spent all of their money developing new missiles to do stuff. But the Star Wars program was just bullshit. It was literally just a lie. And so they put they put all their money into nuclear development for something that didn't exist, and it ended up bankrupting them. And to a degree, that's what we were both trying to do with each other in the space race. And so the Russians were first at getting rockets off the ground, at putting someone in space in orbit, returning them.
Look at America, always trying to be the best at everything or the first at everything. So I would 100% believe if someone's like, hey, we're doing something, America's like, no, we can do it. We can do it.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like the only thing we won at was putting somebody on the moon. Regardless of whether or not we actually put someone on the moon, that's the only thing we won at.
the only thing we
And
need
yet
to
we're
win
like,
at,
we
baby.
won
The only
space
thing we
race.
have to win at. Let's go.
That's
Yeah.
because
Does that
you
mean
know
that
who
Vlad
we
said-
have on our side that the Russians don't? Stanley Kubrick. That's right, baby.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
So Vlad
Scientists
brought
we
up-
steal from other countries.
That's not what I
Yeah.
was saying though.
Seven
My point was like everything that we know about the space race and all of that stuff, half of it's bullshit, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
what the government's telling us and what the governments and what countries have like pledged that we've done and stuff. I'm not saying the moon landing's fake and all of that stuff. Like definitely not. Like that happened. Yes, we've been to the moon. At this point, what does it matter anymore? Like we're
Wait,
gonna
what
be
do you
going to
think
Mars.
is fake?
No,
No,
he's
it's
not
just
saying
all
that
of the
They
it's-
can't tell you
factual
all
stuff.
the details.
Like, oh, we did this to bankrupt them, and then this was successful because of this, and then we were doing this first. All of that stuff, like whatever we know is definitely not the truth. Like no matter what.
Yeah, it's just now. A lot of stuff's just now coming out. It's like, oh yeah, you think the U.S. got involved in Cambodia to save Cambodians? I don't give a shit about Cambodians. They did it to stop communism spreading.
Yeah.
Yeah, like us getting to the moon before the Russians, sure, I believe that. But like the whole we beat them in the space race and we beat them in technological advances and all that stuff. It was like for a decade, I knew, you guys know the story, that myth that was about the whole Americans developed a ballpoint pen that could do like all of that stuff.
And then Russians
Have you
just
guys
used
heard
a
about this?
pencil or whatever.
Yeah, it was like there was this myth that I think it was like the US spent like
$100 million.
Yeah, it was like
on developing
150
a pen that
million.
could write in.
Yeah, thank you for telling
Right
me
in
the
space.
story, Austin. So basically, Americans like, let me fucking tell it.
Dude, you were just confused. You were like, I don't know what it is. I'm trying to fucking help you, dickhead.
I'm working it out. It's called letting me talk. So basically, the myth I think was that the U.S. spent like $150 million to develop this pen that could write underwater in zero gravity, upside down. It was this ink that worked no matter what. And then the Russians used the pencil. Like that was like the myth for forever, and it was like busted and proven to be false. But that took like years before finally it was, oh hey, this story that was going around by word of mouth is not true. And so that's a lot of the stuff, and it's the same thing with extraterrestrial like encounters and technology and stuff. Even if something factual was released, by the time that it got to us talking about it on an episode of the show, we're probably incorrectly stating what happened. That's all. So I especially with governments and secrets and hiding it from public and stuff, I just,
I started to say it earlier because Vlad brought up like the laws that would govern that kind of interplanetary travel and everything, or for that matter, intergalactic. Do you guys know that somebody owns the moon?
Who's that?
It is a man named Dennis Hope, because in 1967, the UN passed the Outer Space Treaty, which said no country could own the moon. In 1980, Dennis Hope said, "I'm not a country." And so he declared ownership of the moon, and he wrote them a letter saying, "I own the moon. Find me a legal reason why I do not own the moon." And they still haven't heard back.
Because you'll be in a
from him.
box.
Dude, do you know what's
But they
crazy?
still haven't. Well, hold on,
Yeah,
he still
sure, you
hasn't
own the
heard
moon,
back
Do you know what's
from him.
crazy? Guys, I own the moon.
But yeah, so he still hasn't heard back from them, and so he's like, "Cool, I have the moon."
they're
And
waiting
so
for him
now-
to die.
So now he
No, they could
sells.
fucking kill him.
He sells lunar land certificates at around $24 per acre. The dude's a multimillionaire because he just sells out plots of land on the moon.
No. He's a multimillionaire
I
because he
own the
scammed a
moon
bunch of
now.
people
Yeah,
into thinking that he owned the
scamming
moon.
people.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I'm not
Can't wait for
saying
him
that
to
he
die
owns
and
the
everyone just
moon.
has a piece of paper that they might as well just typed in Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
just
dumb as
lie
hell,
to
but
whoever you bought that for.
A guy
Fucking morons.
owns the moon just because he said he did, which is how this country was founded, with Christopher Columbus saying, "I
Yeah.
found it."
He's like,
It's crazy.
you there, you're Indian. They're like, no, we're not. Yeah,
Hold
you
on.
are.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Yeah, you are. Like, all right. Forever.
sure you are.
Now we're Indian.
Especially because they're like,
No, I'm
they're
not.
like,
Think again.
give us your spices. Okay, here you go. Nah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, they're like,
Is
We're
this
okay.
curry? Yeah, I think it is.
We're okay. We don't want them.
no, they want them so they can sell them to the Chinese, but they're not going to use them.
Exactly.
They're not
There
going
we
to use
go.
them.
There
That's
we
for
go.
damn sure.
I saw a TikTok and it was an Indian guy and he was like, when England, or it was like when white people colonize your people for your spices and they don't even use them. And I was like, I was like, nice, man. That's a good
They
one.
just wanted their tea.
Give me all your tea. So we
Follow
can throw it in the
question.
river or the harbor.
I think that before you know it, people will be living on space stations. Like we're gonna blink and be like, oh, there's a guy who lives in space full time.
Matrix.
And then, same thing. Before you know it, it's gonna be like, oh yeah, they're living on Mars, 12 months, and then they move. They come back for 3 months or whatever. They live there. It's like they won't be there permanently, but it'll be enough to the point where it's like this is normal.
Well, they already have they've already have planned like space hotels, but also spoiler alert, that's where Invincible's going. Anyway,
Send prisoners to space.
There was a movie.
It'd be
I think
Australia
it
too.
was a shitty one.
Electric Boogaloo, Australia too. It's the moon.
It's New Australia.
Australia too.
that'd be Venus.
Is that a good joke? I don't
Because it's
get
hot.
it.
No,
It's
it's
hot.
because it's
It's the
like
hottest
unbreathable.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh,
The
I'm
air.
not saying we just kill prisoners.
The air is
That's not
toxic
what-
to humans.
Well, of course it is. It's fucking Venus. Every planet has the air is toxic to humans. That's why we're here.
What's the closest we've ever flown anything towards the sun? Do we really know how hot it is?
I think they've shot stuff into the sun.
I think so too.
Let's
There was
throw
a
person
rover
in.
that got close to the sun and it just burnt up.
Yeah,
But it like
Nice.
sent
Also-
footage up until it got it passed. I want to say it got like past Venus and then like burned up somewhere by Mercury.
What
or
if
something.
there's like a special field around the sun that like humans, but only, or like just natural life, like no machines, no clothes, nothing, but like humans, animals, whatever aliens are out there, y'all can like walk on the sun. Like
you
we
have to be
can,
vaccinated?
That'd be-
like
have to be
imagine if they sent like a human in a rocket ship straight towards the sun and the rocket ship burns away, but the person's just still going and they're just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on.
And he
And then
bounces
they
on
just-
the surface.
They just
And it's
land
nice.
on the sun. Yeah. And then they're like,
It's just a trampoline.
they're like, oh my God, Phoenix?
It's a good joke, man.
Thanks, man.
Griff, you mentioned something.
I totally forgot where I was going to go immediately because y'all started making jokes about sending Australians to the moon and Venus and killing all of them. So
That's
I totally
very
lost what I
far
was
from
saying.
Griff, do you
Oh,
listen to us?
Aussie-phobic.
Like when you're not talking, do you listen?
I
Or
do listen
think
to you
about what you're gonna
guys.
say.
No, I
He's
listen
just
to you
fucking
guys.
around.
What do you research?
I'm just having a little laugh.
Well,
No,
'cause
He
often I'll
organizes
watch-
his PowerPoints.
I
I'll
do
often
follow-up
like watch
question,
the
though.
episodes, and like Griff will be looking down, and we'll be talking, and then we'll be like, "Griff, what do you think?" And he'll be like, and
Admittedly, I wasn't listening, guys.
I'd be like, "What?"
Jose has a follow-up question.
It's actually a two-parter because this is where me and my friend went because my friend's kind of a sociopath, Matthew Jimenez. If
I
you're
remember what I
watching
was going to
this,
say actually.
go for it.
Okay, there was a shitty movie a couple years back. I think it starred Chris Pratt, where it was basically about intergalactic travel.
Passengers.
Passengers.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll shut up. All right. I already brought it up, so I'm also say it for the audience. Where if it is the one that I'm thinking of, basically there's like intergalactic travel happening, and there's a lot of people who are going to start the journey who are going to die before they get there, and then there's going to be a middle generation who's going to live their entire life on this, but they won't get there either, and then the next generation is going to be. Okay, is this a different movie then?
That's not what happens in the movie. I don't know if you think that's what's happening in the movie, but that's not what happens.
Well, there is a movie that has that premise to it. Does that sound
So
familiar?
in Passengers, he wakes up and everybody else is still asleep, and they're like
Okay,
a fourth
this
of
is
the
a
way into
different
their
movie.
journey, and then
Him
he
and
wakes
Jennifer
up
Lawrence,
Jennifer
right?
Lawrence.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
a different movie.
And then he wakes up Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah.
You're thinking of
Um,
Interstellar.
No, I'm not. No,
where
I've seen
they
Interstellar a
have the
million
generation
times.
there. No.
It ain't that. It
love
actually
Interstellar. It's
might
a
be a
great movie.
TV show. I can't remember what it is, and I almost want to go to Reddit and ask if my tongue. But yeah, it's basically about this interstellar travel where there's 3 generations that will take place on this journey. The first one, they're going to go knowing they can't do anything. The last one, they'll get there, but then there's a middle generation who has to make sure that everything goes right in between there.
Yeah, they have to
They're-
like train the people who are gonna get there.
Exactly. So they don't know home and they don't know what will be home. All they know is
Damn,
this
that's
shitty.
crazy.
Yeah, they just know this shitty walls of this rocket ship. Fuck.
After
Yeah, they
Earth,
wouldn't- in Passengers, it's like a
starring
partnership.
Will and Jaden Smith.
What?
After Earth, starring Will and Jaden Smith.
Are you? This isn't that either.
Yeah,
if
it
that's
is.
what you're saying.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah. So, anyways, the show just takes place in that middle generation, and it's an interesting concept that I've never seen, so I can't talk about it in detail. But it was just something I was thinking about. Jose, you were starting to say something.
Oh yeah. So the follow-up question, because Austin brought up the technology point of like innovation. So my friend and they're pretty much in the program, who's kind of a sociopath, said that humans will make Mars, but they won't be fully human. Which leads me to my second question of, will it be humans who make it to Mars, and what do you guys consider human? Because it seems that we are moving towards this way of like, we're starting to get, chips possibly in our brain, Neuralink, all that
Implants,
stuff, implants and all this
biometric
stuff,
implants.
and kind of like upgrading ourselves, possibly, considerably, debatably, the next step in human evolution. And do you guys consider that human? And if those people, androids who maybe not, I guess I can't call them androids because I'm on the side that they're still humans, but like maybe we develop this thing where you don't need as much oxygen and that helps you get to Mars. Or you're a drone, like you don't need to breathe and that's what gets you to Mars. Are they still human?
You can use like CRISPR technology, gene editing to like implant, you can't get cancer, so like solar radiation doesn't affect you or whatever. Like that's, yeah. I mean, the thing about the word human is it's like it's like a scientific classification. So it would just depend on how they get classified in the future, if they're like homo superior or whatever. But human is like a species, like it's like Homo erectus, Homo sapien sapien.
It's homo superior.
But yeah, human's a classification. So I mean, like, I guess if we're looking at it from a philosophical standpoint, it just depends on how the individual feels. But I still think like experiencing human emotions and like having a human experience makes you human.
I think a human
so like
it's mental.
Yeah, I don't think you need to be born. I don't think you like, if somebody like implants your like consciousness into like a body that's like artificial, and you experience the entire human life and you never know that you're artificial, you're still human. Like if nobody ever knows,
like the
you experience
Westworld
an
thing,
entire human life. Yeah,
it's
if
like
it's a Westworld thing, it's like human emotions, human experiences. That's kind of what makes you human. I don't think they're like,
but I feel like they have to be your own.
Well,
to like be a human.
But you wouldn't know if they're yours.
I think it would come down to what people identified as, honestly. I think there would be classifications. So I think three things. I think there would be classifications where people with enhancements would not be classified as humans. I think that people would still identify as human or not. Yeah, I think they would choose whether they're calling themselves a human or not. And then I personally think they are human. But despite me thinking that they're still human, I mean, people are identifying as different, like non-binary and different genders and different titles and phrases.
So it's up to them.
I think that would be no different in the future. I personally still think they're human, even if they have pieces of like technology in them. I don't know. That's the whole like cyborg thing, like the DC character, that his whole arc in anything ever is that even though he's part human, part machine, he's all he like, because of his soul, he's human. So I'd argue they would still be humans, but
I feel like
here's
different stuff.
Dinner, you me.
I was just gonna say, I feel like if they start as humans, they're always humans. But if you start as something else, you're something else.
So,
I mean, but if someone's born a man and they transition to a woman, what's the difference?
We're talking about species. Like that's I think that's
because
again you're changing you're not by going from a man to woman, you're still a human. That's very you're changing parts about you, not changing like literally you as a
it's the ship of Theseus.
But aren't you
Okay.
I said
only
one just a second ago.
changing your title, like the classification? Isn't that really
I
all you're
mean-
changing?
Well, I don't think that.
Also-
I don't think being a human is just like
Gender's-
a
gender's-
classification. Like
Gender's
gender
like a
is
social
a
thing.
yeah. I was gonna say gender isn't necessarily based in science.
Yeah,
it's a
it is.
social
It's
Sex,
not.
no, sex is.
No,
Sex is
sex
based in
is.
science.
Gender is
Gender's
not.
a
Gender's not.
Gender's an identity thing, but it's linked to sex, which is a biological thing.
It can be. It doesn't have to be.
No, but they literally are pretty much linked.
They're linked,
But-
but they're still not.
but
it's still not
gender's a
science.
social
Cells
construct.
interlinked. Cells interlinked.
But like, if you didn't classify it like man and male and female, if humans didn't classify sex as male and female, it wouldn't be. It's
Yeah,
like
but they
we
do.
did that.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So exactly, that's my point. So gender gender was created by humans, whereas like there is a actual scientific difference between sex. Like there's like an actual provable
There's
difference.
the Y
when,
chromosome.
like,
there's the
gender-
chromosomes. Y chromosome
Yeah,
versus
gender
X
is
chromosome.
is the way you fit into society, and that's
I use Google
separate
Chrome.
from.
But then what would be the difference between someone saying they're an android or a human?
Yeah, that's
If
what I was
if
gonna
it's
say.
a construct completely
Well,
created by humans.
here's what I'll say, guys. Is my thing is first off, a cyborg is anybody who has any mechanical attachment. So if you guys lost a leg and you had a prosthetic,
No way.
you're a cyborg. Yeah, that
My
is the
grandma had 2
definition.
fake
Of
I
it.
feel like it has. I feel like
Yeah,
it
your
has to
mom's
be
a
rooted
cyborg.
in like mechanical, not just having a prosthetic.
that-
Because there's
that's
some
mechanical.
prosthetics that aren't. I guess I meant
Yeah,
Well,
more
what,
so
what else
like.
would it be
So
though?
I meant more
like-
so
like,
like a motherboard, like having like
I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen dudes
chips
who had the prosthetic.
No,
that can
a
open
cyborg
close.
is technically just having mechanical additions to you. So that's a cyborg. But the thing is if you think about the processes of speciations, I took a lot of classes on animal evolution. So
Me too.
I'm gonna,
He
I'm gonna
speaks
put
in
myself on-
parentheses.
Human evolution.
yeah, no, I like evolution in general and co-evolutions and whatever. But anyways, the thing about how it often works, like think about Pangea with the tectonic plates, how we all used to be in one place. How we all used to be on one massive continent. What would happen is, and you could see it a lot in like finches, like different birds or something like that. If all of a sudden there's a fault line that happens from the shifting tectonic plates and then just shifts a little bit and a little bit every couple hundreds of years or whatever, it's getting a little bit longer. At one point, this flight in between tectonic A and tectonic B is going to be like a mile, and these tiny finches can't make it across. This finch is still functionally the same finch as this one. 100 years ago, yeah, they could fly across and mate with each other, but now it's too far for them to be across. And then they start having the minor changes in their evolution from there. And it gets to a point where one of them, even though functionally the coast on tectonic B is still the same as the coast on tectonic A, there's going to be a little bit of a difference due to like the locations, like with, say, the different seasons or whatever. If one's in the north and one's on the south, yeah, everything's going to change just a little bit. And at one point, say there are more worms in tectonic B, then they're going to need longer snouts to get in there. And so they're going to evolve to have longer snouts. And the other one, if they're more focused on nuts, they're going to have shorter snouts, right? So you're going to have this one's slightly getting longer and longer, and this one's pretty much staying the same as short. That's what happens with speciation and how we get our new species. They started the same, but typically it's just like there's all kinds of different ways that evolution happens.
Yeah, ultimately science is just applied philosophy, right? And so it's like, as much as we want to separate philosophy and science, it's just like you call something philosophy until you can like prove it, and then it becomes a science, right? So it's like it's the same thing. We're studying this and you can see that it's a proven difference, but it's like over time, then it's like a different species. When does it become a different species? When they can't mate together, right? And it's like that happens over time, right? That just happens. And so it's like, I mean, even a different species can
exactly. That's what I said, arguably.
Different species that they can mate that can make fertile offspring. That's the same species. That's why it's like humans and Neanderthals, like you can call all you want. You can say that's not a human. It's a fucking human because you can have babies and those babies exist now. Like they're around. So it's like same thing with a cyborg or like a android. Like if they can have functioning sex parts and you can make a baby with them, at the end of the day, it's technically your same species as long as that baby's fertile.
Well, and here's another thing worth saying with regards to the speciation is you can send cyborgs up there, right? But their kids aren't going to be cyborgs. Their kids are kids. They aren't going to be born with metal implants or whatever. So that won't cause any speciation. But if you have humans up there for a couple hundred years, maybe they're able to start breathing. Also, I looked it up when I said nitrous oxide is their chemical atmosphere. It's carbon dioxide. So they split the carbon and made the oxide. All this to say, they, I mean, it would be the same concept, but either way, all this to say, at one point, maybe the humans start adapting to be able to use the carbon dioxide a little bit over hundreds of years, aka we turn into fucking plants, I guess.
I mean, but, millions of years.
But. Yeah. But that is where you get the speciation. It's like, okay, we could start eating these Mars rocks here, or we could start breathing a little bit better without the helmets. That's speciation in that case, because they're just away from us and they have the different things that they need to deal with. And, you know, natural selection, the people who deal with it better go. So if somebody here, exactly. So if I went up to Mars tomorrow, and I don't have genes that are capable of chewing Mars rock and living off of it, I'm going to die and my genes will not be selected. But if Vlad, you went with me and you're just shoveling Mars rocks down your gullet and you're just living off of that. Yeah,
I do be doing that.
You just break off a rock and you're like, like it's a crunch bar or something. Then your kids are going to survive because they can do that.
Jose, we've talked over you like 3 times. Let's hear your thoughts on everything.
I latched on to something Tanner said of like, if you start as something, you're always gonna, I think it's like you start as something, that's what you're defined as, right?
In terms of species, as far as like a human, if you start as a human, I think you're always a human until you get rid of all of your
theory, man.
You get rid of all of your actually 100% until you get rid of all of your original parts, then you're not the same person.
So then my question to you is,
sorry, continue.
My question to you is like, we're getting, I don't want to say we're getting closer because it's almost going to be impossible, but we get this concept of uploading your brain into, like, let's say the internet or into some type of space and then inputting to a body. Are you still human? Like, if it's,
I think
that's the original self.
Isn't it your consciousness?
Alternatively,
I don't think consciousness equates humanality.
I guess say you have to replace all organic parts. So if it's your brain, let's say,
that's the thing. If they take your brain out and they put it into a machine, I would still say, yeah, you're a human, but you're in like a robot body. But if you upload it, like basically the brain's gone, if every physical piece of you is not included, I don't think you're a human. At that point, you're a program.
So what if it's altered carbon where you have a cloned body? So altered carbon, basically, these billionaires like they have this technology that's called they have a stack that's in your brainstem, and basically it stores your consciousness. And these billionaires can upload every 5 minutes. You can send your autosave to a satellite. And so say I came up to you and I blew your brains out, as long as your stack was intact, your brain, your whatever was last uploaded would be then downloaded onto a body, and then you would be born out of like a
Is it a human body?
It's cloned of you.
Clone.
That's that's not original.
The clone of human.
But it's not original. You said original.
I don't think a clone is a human.
Oh, okay. Well, then I completely disagree with you.
If they cloned a biological person, they were all biological. Is that not a human?
They've cloned rats. Are cloned rats not cloned? Or
cloned rats not rats? My point is that person. So say you were cloned and you lived an entire life, 120 years, and you died, and nobody ever knew except for the people who made you. That doesn't take away from your humanity. You're still a human. You experienced life the same.
Here's another thought. Going with the Theseus boat. I think they keep trying.
I mean, that happens to humans.
They keep trying this in Russia, but like it never works. But if we ever have a successful head transplant, if Tanner dies, but I'm dying, or my body's dying, Tanner's dead, we cut my head off and we staple it onto Tanner's head, am I still me? Or am I now Tanner?
Well, it's your consciousness.
It is my consciousness, but it's really not me anymore. Kind of on the note of
My camera died so fast.
I think if it's your consciousness.
I'm not talking about mentality and like individuality. I'm talking about just like the species as a whole, and like what makes a human necessarily. I'm not saying like Griffin, your example, that's whatever. Like that could be if you want to be like I'm Tanner now, cool. If you want to be like I'm still Griff, cool. Like kind of Austin, your thing, if no one knows, even you don't know, sure, you're human. But like if you find out, or like if the knowledge is there, me personally, I'm gonna be like, okay, you're not human. Like that's just what it is. I'm probably not gonna treat you different. I really don't give a now. That's what I say now.
I'm
gonna meet a
fundamentalist. What makes them a human?
No, Tanner's gonna be the people in the sci-fi movie that's like, those people aren't human, and it's like a bunch of little orphan kids that don't have parents because they're.
He's gonna be the guy in the cantina that like doesn't serve droids.
We don't serve your kind around here. They have a big C carved in their forehead.
This is the replicants thing from Blade Runner.
Yeah, I was literally gonna bring that up.
I think for a human to be human, they have to be made of a human sperm and a human egg. Griffin, can I just I see your hand up. I'm gonna say my point and then I'll pass it to you like we normally do. If it's made of a human egg and a human sperm, and you're born, then you're a human. That's the way I see it. And if it's changed, I don't know. That's the way I see it.
Tanner's
you're looking at it just biologically, not like
you got to be born.
Biologically.
So there's a scene in Breaking Bad where it's young Walter White, and he's talking to this girl who's a student, and then God, I forget her name in this moment, the character's name, but he's talking to like the student of hers who she ends up marrying, like his like life partner that he breaks up with, whatever. And he's obviously a chemistry teacher, and they're like, okay, let's come up with the chemical composition of a human body, like what makes up a human. And she's going through the percentages of all the elements. She's like, this much carbon, this much oxygen, this much nitrogen, and he's running all the percentages, and like this much bones and this much this and this and that, and they come up to like 99 point something, like they don't get a full percent, and he's like, something's missing. And then she's like, well, that like, oh, there's this. And he's like, yeah, we've gotten everything, but there's still something missing. And then, yeah, she says, what about a soul? And he goes, huh. And then it just cuts. And that's like a one-time stinger. And you never like go back to that scene or anything. So that's the question that I have. Kind of what?
I said it's a kind of corny line, but I remember loving it when I saw it.
Oh, totally. But they have like this like kind of subtle romantic relationship that they never like strictly tell you about, and their age difference isn't big enough to where it's weird or anything.
It's Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. He has a list, and he's like 17 liters of water, 350 grams of this many grams of that, this many grams of graphite, and he does it, and it's like, why doesn't it work? It's because you can't transmute a soul, man.
I love it.
Griffin, what do you have to say?
So in the
nobody fucking cares. Fuck you, Griffin. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
In the event of Tanner and I having a head/body transplant, if I masturbate, am I homosexual?
No.
No.
Tanner muted Griffin.
Yeah, does that make me gay? Because I'm technically jerking off another man now.
It's a spectrum, bro. So
it depends on how you define that, though.
Well, that's yours now, man. It belongs to you.
Are you saying that the head is yours and you're thinking yourself, and then the body isn't?
He's piloting the body like a.
If my head is cut off and I'm now on Tanner's body,
like
his
a
head
Power
is also
Ranger.
gone. I've just replaced him.
But if you have control of the body, is it now not yours?
I've controlled a lot of different cars, but that doesn't mean the cars are all mine.
No, but that's different, man.
Anyways. This went off the
Biologically,
rails.
yeah, no, I think you still like that's a human. Like I don't know, like souls. Scientifically, souls aren't
Oh,
like
we're going
a
away
thing.
from my homosexual jerking
If you
off.
met
Of
yourself,
course, of fucking course.
if you met yourself in another universe and you fuck yourself, is that gay sex or masturbation?
Masturbation.
From a parallel universe, I'd
Gay
consider
sex.
that.
Okay, what if I go
Yeah,
back
that's
in time
gas.
and fuck myself yesterday?
He couldn't even finish that. He couldn't even finish that.
I'm like, it can't be gay. It can't be.
Austin, do you have something to tell us? Did something happen
I've
yesterday?
invented time travel.
Or did something happen today?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine you find out that you invented time travel by being raped by yourself?
You feel something in your ass.
And then,
It's just
and then
yourself.
tomorrow I'm like stumbling down the street like sad, and I like fall into like a manhole cover, and there's a fucking
Like you.
It's a time
and
machine.
I'm
You're
like,
like, I'm getting back at him. And you're like, wait,
Like
wait.
what Austin was saying.
I'm getting
he
back
hears,
at myself.
He hears doo, 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 and he turns, and all of a sudden a man walks in and kicks him in the chest, and he falls. And on top of Austin, we see another Austin with like a Cyclops visor, covers the camera.
I have gloves on, fucking like
Honestly,
gardening gloves.
That'd be a
Like
great.
elbow.
That'd be a great bit for this show. Is just we hear a
Oh.
big bang. Someone comes in, knocks Austin out, and then it's just Austin who sits back down. He's like, "You guys ready to start the show?"
That'd
We're
be
just
so
like,
good
"What
if
the
one of us
fuck
had a
just
twin
happened?"
brother. If we ever have, we'll cut this out. But if we ever have like Connor on or something, like
His
or
brother
someone who-
doesn't look enough like him.
Okay, we need if we ever have someone that like has like a sibling that looks close enough on the show, we should do that. The whole like they're replaced
That's such a
halfway
good bit.
and
I
they're
mean,
wearing
you could
different
edit it.
clothes.
Yeah.
Oh
could
yeah, we
edit
could
it.
edit it.
Yeah.
God, that's so funny. Holy shit. Like sweating.
Tanner, do you think humans can be immortal?
No.
Wait.
Because
Do you think it's possible, or do you think it'll happen?
No, I'm saying that like, do you think if like a human became immortal, are they still human?
No, they're an immortal. Because I think also to be a human, you have
Or
to
God.
die.
I think part of humanity's mortality.
I think just part of.
And if you're transferring yourself to another person and you keep doing that, are you still human?
Well, at that point, I don't think you're immortal.
Because
Well,
you're
also
not
your
invulnerable.
brain would eventually deteriorate.
It
You're only
doesn't
immortal as
alter
long as
carbon.
the computer keeps your data.
These are all hypotheticals though. If we really wanted to like understand Tanner's view on the whole humanity thing, we'd have to like base it in our reality.
We'd have
I
to
feel like-
tie him down.
I feel like at this point we should just
And
move on to
beat him in
something
his
else.
submission with baseball bats. What's a human?
Like at
You're
this point,
wrong,
I think
Tanner.
Tanner's explained his view on humanity, and we see it in a more like
philosophical. way.
poetic or philosophical way. Yeah, and Tanner's looking at it very like.
It is what it is. Eh?
Yeah, it's the same thing as the acting conversation. Like we're looking at it at two different perspectives. So we should move on to the next question.
You want to take a break and then come back and then do?
Well, Jose, you had a second question, right?
You already
Or
followed.
did
You already had a follow.
You already
Wait.
had
Well, I
that?
already did the follow up.
I just
I
realized.
mean, the
Wait.
other one can go.
Well, I was also going to say, Austin, this is the season finale, and you have yet to do the big "Would you rather," or did we do that last week? We
We
didn't.
did it. We did do that last week.
No,
The
we
big
didn't.
one?
Yeah, you
We
did.
didn't do the big one.
What was the big one?
It was the.
And I'll tell you if I did it or not.
You literally gave us a would you rather that you said that you were holding off from the acting.
No. I looked one up, and
Oh.
I looked one up because I didn't use the.
Oh, okay.
the big
Then
would
let's-
you rather
Remember
we
we
then
like
let's take a
'cause
break.
we got
to end
into
the episode
something, and then we
Let's
The
break
big would you
and then
rather
come
would be
back
perfect
for
to
it.
end the episode on.
Okay,
yeah. Then
let's
let's
take a break.
break
then.
and come back.
That's it.
Let's go. Let's go. All right.
Oh my goodness. Wait, click on that.
Wait.
You just like.
Dude, there's so many videos of those kids, like from the
Yeah,
movies.
it's a
that they
grown
made.
ass man.
I
I was
don't
gonna
think
say,
that's
I
a
was like,
kid,
funny
yeah.
enough, they're not kids. Those are grown ass.
I know
men.
every time I say the kids, and then Tanner's like, no, they're men, and I still don't believe it.
Hey, so again, like I said, I'm not trying to be on here for fucking another hour, but this is a good one, and again, it could be a good full episode, but we don't have to make a full episode, obviously.
Do we want to?
But-
Sorry, do we want to teach Jose or would you rather rules?
So this one might change a little bit, but basically, anytime we do a would you rather, we had to make rules because we're fucking morons and we'll talk over each other. Basically, I'm gonna ask the would you rather. Everybody's gonna answer, and then we're gonna talk about it.
Answer in the order of our introduction.
Ugh.
So it's gonna go Tanner.
So you're last.
Austin, myself, Vlad, then you.
And then we discuss.
All right,
yeah.
gentlemen. So, this one I got from Chevelle. Most of the other ones I got from Chevelle too. She's a very profound person. You wouldn't know that because you never talked to her because she hates you guys.
She hates you too.
Would you rather? Yeah, that's true. Would you? Would you rather learn all the mysteries of the world, like the pyramids, how they're perfectly lined up, where Stonehenge came from, the Easter Island heads and bodies, and the Olmec heads, if you guys know what that is, or if you don't, or would you rather learn the mysteries of the universe, like the Big Bang, how big the universe is, and about other civilizations? Tanner, you go first.
Give me a second.
Okay.
Ooh.
Can I have an answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
Vlad, you go.
Mysteries of the world.
I also say the world.
I say universe.
I say universe.
And you don't get to be like, oh, if I know the histories of the world, if I know the mysteries of the universe, I know the mysteries of the world. You got to know one or the other.
I guess world. I'm not happy about it, but world.
Okay. So the reason I said world is because I live here and I want to know what's going on now. Knowing I feel like knowing the mystery of the universe would like fuck your brain up. Like you wouldn't be able to comprehend it. Your mind would just melt. And I'm not really smart enough to like help anybody with it. With the world, like I can like help people. I could like go there and teach people about it. And like if I knew the mysteries of it, I could at least know where to start looking. And I feel like with the universe, it's like I know as much about the universe as I'll ever know because I am not smart enough to know. Like I'm not smart enough with the math and shit like that to like figure it out. I guess that's my point.
I just don't think anyone would believe you if you knew the mysteries of the universe.
I said
Like,
that.
oh,
to
hey,
Sean,
this
too.
is how the Big Bang happened. Like, okay, yeah,
They're
sure,
like,
buddy.
They prove
Like
it.
the
Yeah,
mysteries
like,
of the
prove it.
earth, maybe, because if you had enough factual information and like rooted it in our reality, I think you could work for organizations that would utilize that information. But I think if you were saying, oh, this is how the Big Bang happened, and this is how black holes actually work, and this is the nearest extraterrestrial life and all of that, I think people would just go, all right, buddy, let's get you medicated. And that's it.
Well, like my thing, I feel like neither really does anything for you. Like I don't think people would believe you either way, whether it's you knowing Stonehenge or you knowing how a black hole works. So I was upset about the choice because personally I don't care enough to know the mysteries of the world, just where it's like, hey, they exist, they're out there, and that's enough for me. I would honestly want to know more so the mysteries of the universe, but like Austin said, I think your mind would just fucking melt. Also, I think you would just have such a bleak existence because I feel like with learning the mysteries of the world, you're also going to learn like the mysteries of the universe. You're going to learn a lot of like dark shit. Like honestly, connecting this to the Matrix, which as mentioned, I watched for the first time this week. I was like watching it and basically like they wake people up into the real world and the Matrix is all like a fake world. And I was just like the entire time watching it, I was like, I don't know if I would want to be woken up. Like, cause like cool, you're awake, you're free, you're a person, but also like the real world was just so much bleaker. And it was just like, cool, you live on a spaceship now for the rest of your life, and you know these 5 people, that's it. But like, if I could live life not thinking anything and maybe being like, I bet there's more out there, but not actually, you know, going for it, I feel like life would be a lot more
That's like Inception.
doable. Yeah.
Like in Inception, like Cobb DiCaprio's character is like his wife Mal, who's played by Marion Cotillard. Yeah, she's like, she basically wants to stay in like their dream world and stick in the reality where they were gods and could create their home, their dream home, and their town and their family, and live in that world. And he wanted to go back to reality, and she didn't. And that's like that's where the whole like conflict of that movie stems from.
It was a big conflict in the Matrix because one dude like was like, I want to go back. Like, this sucks.
His name
No, it was because there was APOC and then there was the other dude, and it's the I can never remember his name.
You meet the character, you're like, that guy sucks, because it's the actor that plays him always plays a dude who sucks.
Yeah, it's the guy who plays the chief in the Bad Boys movies.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, that is him.
Yeah. So when he came up, I was like, man, he's loud. But that's not new. Griff, you more or less
Cypher
had a different, that's what it was.
Well, Griff and Jose both wanted the
well, I was gonna say Griff go first, and then Jose take the fucking reins, B.
I say universe because I like just understanding how things are, and understanding the universe would give you so much more understanding of just all the fundamental questions of life, period. And I think that's cool as hell. I more often than not do my best to understand how and why everything works how it does, at least the things I care about. I'm just a curious dude like that, and I think you can get a lot of questions answered by knowing the answers in the universe, whereas if you knew everything on Earth, you still don't know a lot. Like knowing something on Earth doesn't help you know about the universe, but the other way around could be true, where I understand how the chemicals were formed, so now I understand how things were able to happen here back on Earth. So I hear what you're saying, Austin, where it's like, well, if you know the universe, you know Earth. Like, I'm not saying it's like, well, Earth is in the universe, so I'm gonna know. It's like, I have the tools to know. And that's what
you have the tools to figure it out yourself, as opposed to
it's
exactly grants you new perspective.
Do you want to be Ozymandias, or do you want to be
I was just saying Dr. Manhattan, because Manhattan's the universe guy.
Yeah, and he's fucking miserable.
That's why and that's exactly what I was gonna mention. I was gonna wait till after Jose, but one of my biggest things was like, yeah, did you hear Steve Jobs died of ligma? Who the hell's Steve Jobs? Ligma balls. Literally, I was thinking about how I think discovering the secrets of the Earth would grant you a greater perspective. I guess it's like a more optimistic perspective on humanity, maybe, or like a greater perspective, like to put it on a simple spectrum of, like, it's the thing we were talking about with the soul versus biological thing. Like, it's more of a poetic / optimistic look on, wow, I understand how this is created, and I'd love to share it with more people who have that interest. Whereas I think the understanding of the universe is more of the biological, cold, factual, arguably pessimistic version of, well, I know how everything is so large and we're so small, so why do we matter? You know, I think your perspective would shift that way, where it's, oh my God, Stonehenge and the pyramids, and I see how all of these incredible advances were made by humans or by assistance of some other being or force, you know, versus, holy crap, I can't believe people care about what's on Instagram, because this is how the world, how the universe was created, you know?
Yeah, you become an Omni-Man. You're like, your life is so insignificant to the, you know, you stop. I feel like you would stop caring. I mean, you might not, but like, imagine knowing everything about the universe. It's like your fucking dog. Like, you wouldn't give a shit about your dog. Like, your dog hurts his foot, and you're like, fuck that dog. He lives for like 5 more years. Like, it's insignificant.
I think that more or less depends on the outlook. Like, super random. Doctor Who. That's a character who literally he has been to the beginning of the universe. He is the end of the universe. Like that's within the show. He is like when the doctor dies, that's kind of when like the universe is like, cool, we're done now. But he cares about everything and anything. And I think it's an
He's
equal.
also
I think
not
it's
human.
well, yeah, but I think it's just the other side of the spectrum of like Dr. Manhattan, and where he knows how finite and like small everything is, that he cares almost too much. Like that's almost the biggest conflict of the show, is the doctor will get involved with something that he really shouldn't, maybe doesn't need to, but like it matters to him. So he's like, I gotta save these people. Like literally an entire species could get wiped out and it wouldn't affect the universe in the slightest. But he's like, I know they were there and I know that I could have done something. So why am I not going to do something? Like that's kind of his, it's more of a burden of like feeling like you need to, yeah, it's the responsibility of
Great
that
power.
knowledge.
What I think to myself is, I feel like I would have a greater appreciation for the minutia of the world. Like I think Vlad, you just said like, oh, why do people care about Instagram when this is the universe? It's like I feel like I would love Instagram more at that point, because it's like, okay, sure, I could think about Nebulon 84 trillion XB or whatever in the sky, or think about cosmos colliding into each other and what that means for the local galaxies. But at the same time, it's like, I just want the sweet release, and this is what makes people happy. Let's just vibe with what we can, you know? I would like to think that I'm somebody who would appreciate the little things more.
Once you use that,
you would know all the infinite Instagrams that are out there. You know what I mean? It's like we have Instagram, but then you know like what they like. It's just, I think you would know too much to the point where like it would ruin you. No matter how strong you think your psyche is.
I'm already ruined.
Yeah, man.
Well, I also feel like you could have that knowledge.
You start bleeding out of your eyes and you would just die.
Well, I think it's just choosing what, like, yeah, you know about it, but doesn't mean you're going to necessarily use it or like, you know, like, yeah, you know about the millions of different space Instagrams, but you're like, I'm just going to go with Earth's. It's an easy layout.
I just want to be universe pilled.
Think about weird connection. I heard that. Yeah, I heard that. Weird connection. Think about pornography. Think about how many porn sites there are on the fucking internet, but for the most part, people use the same one over and over again.
The internet's like 80% porn.
Yeah.
The internet, or sorry,
the universe is 80% Instagrams.
Jose.
I mean, probably.
I was gonna say, and then I was gonna transition to Jose as well. Fun fact: the porn industry is like the single-handed reason as to why internet speeds got faster, because people were impatient watching dial-up of pixel by pixel boobs loading. So that is literally the reason.
I'm gonna do something about this.
I think pretty much any advancement we've had in like internet speeds, like any connection like that, it's all to do with like sending nudes, looking at nudes. A lot of the money. Most of the money spent on the internet is for porn or drugs. Like it's like
Instagram adding the vanish feature. They were like, we want y'all to cheat on your spouses.
I saw that, and it's annoying because sometimes they'll like do it on accident.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't want to fucking do that shit. I'm not sketchy. I mean, I'm sketchy, but like everybody knows.
Universe.
Yeah. So I answered the universe because thinking about myself, if I looked at it like a math problem, it'd be like I got the formula, and then living on Earth, it was putting it to work. Like, how does Earth work? And I think about it in that way because possibly in my lifetime, we're not gonna get out of this galaxy. So why would I want to know everything that's already? Why would I want to uncover all the mysteries of the one place I'm probably gonna get to explore? Like, at least with knowing the universe, I can work out how all that big stuff came to like be the perfect concoction for what is Earth, what is life, what is plant life and all this stuff, and like how, you know, like finding like finding the hypotenuse, and then like the perfect hypotenuse is where I am, and like just figuring that out. Like I think that would be beautiful and like give me a like somewhat of a purpose, even though I know a lot. Like I may know a lot, but I'm getting to figure out Earth. And like in terms of a lot of what you guys said, like being seen as insignificant or anything, like we don't even know a lot about Earth. We don't even know about a lot about our universe in general. But there's already a school of thought that's like nihilism, that we like can controls like a whole population already. Like a huge part of humans already think like that.
That's what I
And
was
it's
just
like
telling Tanner earlier.
and like me myself, I put myself as optimistic nihilism. Like I know my time on here on Earth is probably just gonna be forgotten by the time that the universe experiences heat death. It's like, you know, like why be afraid when as when, you know, humans dissolve, so will my like history here.
Yeah, like people will forget about you in fucking 50 years. So who gives a shit? Like,
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
I feel.
That's the point, though. Like,
Yeah, that's the point. Like, exactly.
they'll
So I
forget,
do.
but
So
I
I'm gonna do
still-
whatever I want.
Yeah, it's what I
Yeah.
mentioned in
So I'm gonna do it.
whatever episode, whatever. I was like nothing that we do matters, but all that matters is what we do. And I don't know, with the universe thing, I kind of get what you're saying, Jose, but my retort slash follow-up question to you is, because you mentioned I live on Earth, so why would I want to know everything on it? Because I'll be able to explore it. Do you think you'd be able to explore enough to where, for lack of better phrasing, you're satisfied? Because obviously you'll take what you can get, but I don't know, I think of like, if you experience Earth's history, you can know about the dinosaurs. Were they real? What did they really look like? What actually happened to them? How did evolution take us to where we are now? Like, there's so many branching aspects, not even just because we really only talked about like the 7 wonders of the world. That's really honestly all that we mentioned so far about like Earth's history. But there's like, how was the moon created because of that? Like, I think that technically counts. Stuff like that.
Yep.
like you know,
Is the moon?
the moon was in
once a
the
part of
moon was
Earth.
creation. It once was a part of Earth, yeah. And
Yeah,
Earth got
that
hit
an
by
asteroid hit and it split it off.
And that's why the Earth is tilted
Yeah.
as well.
Huh.
That's why
But-
you're
Spin
on
on
an
an
axis
axis like this.
Nothing is factual because, like Austin kind of said earlier, and I didn't want to be the asshole to correct him. Nothing's proven. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as proving something in science. Everything is a hypothesis until it's disproven. So you could
Yeah.
disprove a lot of stuff. You could figure out what is the newer hypotheses, I guess. But
Charles Darwin and Einstein spent the rest of their lives after their biggest scientific discoveries trying to disprove it.
yeah,
It's crazy. It's like, imagine like being
obsessed that way.
Darwin being like, yeah, evolution through natural selection. I mean, here it is. Everybody's like, all right, now prove that it didn't happen. And he's like, what? And it's like, yeah, fucking prove that it didn't happen. And then he dies a virgin. Like, damn, not a virgin, but I think
Well,
I think
he
what's his
might have.
name? I think what's his name died a virgin. Sir Isaac
Einstein?
Newton died a virgin.
Oh.
Well, and I
Yeah.
also already hate Newton
Uh-huh.
because he created physics, right? He created the
Algebra.
school of thought of physics, and he was like, "Hold on,
Oh no, yeah, it is physics.
there's not enough math for me to do the science that I want." So then he created fucking calculus too.
Why did you say you already hate Isaac Newton? Like, as if,
Gumby.
like, is there a time frame on when you're supposed to hate moguls
Yeah.
of science?
Or you automatically hate Newton, right?
But
Is he
yeah,
a
Jose,
mogul?
what do you think about that thing that I mentioned about like, do
I
you
mean,
think you'd experience enough of Earth to where you'd rather know the universe? And then follow-up question that I want you to start with by answering, what would y'all do with the information that you've achieved? Other than maybe, yeah, no, I'll let you guys answer that. I'll say if you want to take it to the grave, sure. But would you tell anyone, and who? Jose, if you want to start.
I wouldn't really care about the past. I'd be caring about the future. And like, if I know about the universe then it's like, okay, and I know, and then I can figure out what makes up Earth, then that means, I don't know, I can possibly put humanity in a better standing to leave Earth.
How would you do so? Who would you go to? Your first idea. And
I
obviously
would-
this isn't exactly where you'd go, but what is your thought process initially right now? You just learned all of this incredible information. Who do you trust?
I wouldn't really trust anybody. I'd go to school. That sounds weird, but like, I don't know. I'd use that to go to a school, do the math that they do, and then after like proving myself, like start doing the experiments I need to do to get humans to the next level.
So you would never actually tell anyone the information. You would just utilize it as much as you could and spread it in your own theories. You'd probably
Yeah.
have like 20 fucking theories that are like the Jasso theory or something, and it would just be all these secrets of the universe, and no one will know. It's
He'd
under
just
our
publish
noses.
like all these. He'd
All these-
publish all these fucking papers.
You could use.
Yeah.
He could. Full circle. Those are the books that he writes. Those are the
Yeah.
novels.
And they're the sacred text. The sacred text.
The sacred text. Read them, have you?
And with the PhD next to him.
Yeah, there you go.
Like,
What about the rest of y'all? What would you do with the info?
I would become Nathan Drake
Fuck yeah.
and just like I'd be like I would go find a fucking, these hidden cities and shit and
Become a white mass murderer of brown and black.
Whoa. We don't have to look at that
Yes.
side of it. Hey, ludonarrative dissonance. We don't need to talk about that stuff. He didn't canonically kill anybody, okay?
Okay, America.
so
Well,
I would
that's
probably
that's a thing for
so-
Naughty Dog, but
I think there's so much about human culture and like the human experience that's tied up in not knowing about where people came from. Europeans have so much like history. It's written down, fucking holy books, like all this shit is about European history, right? And like imagine, if everybody had that same connection to where they're from. So like if you could like find out where the fucking Mayans went, and you can like know where the Olmecs went, and you can like know like about like these great African kingdoms that were there, and like you could teach this to people and be like, this is where we came from, like look how great we used to be, and I could hopefully teach people how to like get back to that and share with other people how similar we are, and hopefully fucking make the world a better place, I guess. And then find the gold in El Dorado and be rich.
it was just a statue. Plot twist. Spoiler alert for Uncharted 1 that came out in 2007.
I would probably, I would maybe, go to like a university and try to talk my shit, but
Nobody would leave you.
yeah, well, regardless of whether or not anyone would believe me, and like I
The
work.
Big Bang was God's butthole, and they're like,
Okay, buddy. And then they just syringe in your neck.
how'd you know?
I'd probably just park it. I'd probably just park that information and be like, all right, whatever, cool, I know. Because
Maybe
yeah, odds
grave.
are people aren't gonna
Selfish bastard.
no, odds are people aren't gonna believe me, and it's gonna be a lot of work to prove it. So whatever. I just know.
You just
And also,
you write the sacred text, man.
and Vlad, when you ask like what you would do with that information, or like being happy about exploring the earth, and like if you would ever be fully satisfied, I don't think that you need to do it all to have satisfaction. One thing what? Yeah, satisfaction. Yeah, satisfaction.
I also don't think that's a word, but
Fuck off.
Satisfaction.
Yeah,
That's-
satisfaction.
There's a
Yeah.
whole ass fucking
Listen,
Rolling Stones
man,
songs
syllable.
about it.
tomato, tomato, comfortable, comfortable. It's all the same.
I'm on 4 hours of sleep, guys. Go fuck yourselves.
It's Sunday.
I'm exhausted.
So
You went out last night.
Yeah.
Why didn't you sleep in?
True.
It's Sunday.
because I have a full-time job.
Sunday,
so my
Sunday.
body-
You got a Monday through Friday
I'm
job. That's what I'm
my
saying.
body clock wakes me up early as shit.
Yeah, he can't choose
to
And
stay
I woke
in.
up at
That's
8:30.
What's
Yeah.
crazy is we only have like one time a week where we plan this, and none of us ever seem prepared.
So, anyways, here's the thing: is I hear you talk about like photography and cameras and all that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, you have a camera that can do everything you want to, but that's like restricting in its own way. You want a camera that's amazing at one thing and you can do that. So it's like, okay, I don't need to explore the world and find all the secrets of the world. Say I just explore Latin America and I get really intimate in Latin America. Like, will I be curious about Africa? Sure. And maybe every once in a while I'll hit Africa, but like, get into your one thing. You don't need it all.
I'm trying to get intimate in Latin America, if you know what I'm saying, son. Ah.
Fuck.
I feel like either choice inevitably would lead to our own mental demise. Like,
Oh, you be
first of all, like all of that
fucked.
information is insane, but even just knowing about the Earth only, who are you gonna tell that's gonna believe you? Like for me, I immediately thought, to answer my own question, I'd be like, well, I'll like talk to those I trust the most. Like Austin would probably be the first person I talk to, because like he's just the type of person that would probably believe me. Like
He's like they were astronauts, and I'd be like, yeah.
He'd be like, tell me more, as he's like chewing down ice cream or something. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'd reach out to the people that I know that would want to hear everything and maybe would believe me. But more so would the information would benefit. They would have a new perspective on the world. But at the same time, imagine like a thought that I had, imagine knowing all about the Earth. Like, you know, the real truth behind the Bermuda Triangle and like stuff like that. And you're like, holy crap, I know all of this. And there's so much more out there in the world that we can explore. And there's so much in our history that now show us, as you know, it's the idea of know where you came from to know where you're going. And tomorrow I'm going to go back to my retail job and I'm stuck doing that anyway. And I have no way to fund me even using any of the information I got, you know? I guess that was another thing that I thought of like, dang, not even the aspect of no one would believe you, but the aspect of like, I guess you wouldn't even be able to utilize it in any way.
I always think about that in movies when you're like, you find out like some crazy shit. It's like some high schoolers are like, oh, this house is haunted and there's a demon in it. Gotta go to school tomorrow for 7 hours. I guess we'll explore this house at 2:30 p.m.
Off, yeah.
And later.
Oh man, after school
like,
we'll come back here and find out what's happening.
You can never go back to your regular life after that kind of shit. It's like, no, I don't go to school anymore. I know I'm 7 years old. I know it's Stranger Things and I'm 11, but like, I can't go back to school, man. I've seen like hell.
That is literally the Stranger Things thing. They discovered the Upside Down in an organization that's hiding extraterrestrial and otherworldly creatures, and they're like, going back to high school tomorrow, baby,
You're in
or
sixth
middle
grade.
school. They're like, anyway,
like,
you want to
holy
bike to school tomorrow? All right, tight. See you in the morning. What?
Let's go play D&D after we've seen real fucking demons.
Yeah, let's go to school
like,
with our
no,
friend
man.
that can make things levitate with her mind. Anyway, you do the algebra homework. Can I copy it?
Tanner, what would you do?
Who would you go to?
Had the knowledge of
Vlad, honestly,
If you had
Vlad
the
literally
knowledge of
just
my
said
butthole.
almost my entire thing. I mean, here's the thing: in my in this scenario, am I still like me? Am I still the person that I am today?
Yeah, like
Then I
ideally,
would
like, it's
I would
like
either park it or kill
so you have
myself, because
dreams.
people already don't listen to the shit that I know about. So I would be like, hey, I know all this information. People would be like, yeah, okay, Tanner. And I'd be like, cool, thanks.
That's
shut up,
honestly,
Tanner.
that's sadly like, that's sadly true. If Tanner was like, Vlad, I understand like the secrets of the Earth, I'd be like, all right, man. Like, that's
He'd be like,
honestly, I get it.
Lou Terravino with a fucking golf club. And we'd be like, dog.
Exactly. He understands where I'm coming from because of the thought patterns. Talking to a brother without
Thought
a brain, this
patterns.
brother has a thought like a lightning bolt. Lightning bolt will burn a motherfucking Lee Terravino with a golf club with iron in his goddamn hand. That's why he don't like
And we'd be
metal. Like,
What?
wow. Did you come up
The
with that on
Illuminati.
your own? Be like, wow. What?
For
I think it's also
what?
bad because I'm a filmmaker, so I feel like I'd be like, yo, this, and people would just be like, wow,
I'm saying it's
crazy
a sacred
movie,
text, right?
right?
I feel like it would be like you would figure out how to express it and you'd make it, right? So like Jose would
think
like
that'd be
write the
perfect.
book, and
Yeah.
like he might die in 100 years, like, you know, years later in the book, and eventually somebody's like, all these things in this book are like becoming, like, we're seeing them
True.
happen. Yeah, it's like people are like, oh, everything in the Bible has happened, you know. It's like, people wrote the Bible after this shit happened. But anyways,
Yeah.
like, be like, oh, this stuff is like prophecy, and then they'd be like, damn, these are the sacred texts, and they were written
films, like Tanner being like, I would just
by some
make
guy.
films. I think that'd be awesome. Imagine knowing the secrets of the earth and like
I would just become the
having a
Wachowskis.
series. Like you would have a series.
Yeah, you just make really
explaining,
cool movies.
What
Like,
if
you could
what
have
if
like the Seven Wonders series?
guys, what if that's what the Matrix is the Wachowskis learn the fucking
I believe it.
like secrets of the universe, and they're like, I'm trying to tell you guys, and we're like, nah.
I'm trying to put you on games, son.
We're like, hey, the
simulation.
special effects didn't age well, and they're like, that's not the point, guys.
I believe it though. Like that stuff's. I don't know. I have this idea that
Simulation theory.
arguably belief and religion as a whole stemmed from us, from our ancestors experiencing some higher power or situation that we didn't understand. So you brought belief to understand it.
Mhm.
That's a theory. I'm not trying to bash on anyone's religion if you have one.
Well, no,
But,
it's because I had a very hot take about religion and a theory, but continue.
Yeah, no, we should talk about it.
time.
I was saying we should talk about it with Jose. I feel like he has a lot of ideas on that. But that's Jose's like, oh shit, never mind.
Jose's not trying to get kicked out of his house.
But that's another like very, very loose theory that I don't necessarily believe in, but it is an interesting perspective where it's the idea of, I at least bring it back to the Egyptians. Egyptians had all these carvings of like people doing stuff, and they had pharaohs, but then you look at their worshiping of cats, and it would be such a movie trope if cats were these like godly creatures that in our mortal eyes we saw as cats, and that's why the Egyptians worshipped cats, and that's why they're on murals and everything, and that they're surrounding us. There's a video game series called Jak and Daxter from the PS2 era, and spoiler alert for Jak and Daxter, Jack's best friend Daxter turns into this thing called an ottsel. It's a hybrid between an otter and a weasel, and he becomes this ottsel by falling into this vat of dark eco. And so they have eco and these vats of like energy, I guess, and they all have different colors and they attribute something else. Like red is power, and then like yellow is speed, or yellow is like range, and blue is speed. There's light and dark eco, which are the balance in the world, like the yin and yang. And so dark eco modifies your like genetic, like just your, I guess, genetic code. And so Daxter turns into this ottsel, and he's this ottsel for 3 games. And you're always constantly trying to encounter and chase and learn more about these gods that created everything you know, called the precursors. And it's not until, spoiler alert, the end of the 3rd game, you meet these precursors. You meet people that are the precursors, and they're ottsels. And you find out that Daxter at the very start of the 1st game was transformed into a precursor. And this whole series that you played, and he's comedic and he's like this silly guy, and most of the 1st game is he wants to turn back into a human. You then realize at the end of the 3rd game, he's been a god this whole time, and he didn't even know it. And so I think it's an idea of, we maybe encountered something in our ancient history that we didn't fully understand, and we embedded it in like our history and cave paintings and writings, and that's turned into now movies and books that we're writing, and the answer's been there in front of us the whole time. Like people are like, how were the pyramids made? And some people are like, because that's just a good way to stack rocks. But there's the idea of maybe we did get help from otherworldly creatures, or an ununderstandable god or something, or a force, or some sort of being outside of our mortal like plane of existence, and that altered our perception, and then that turned into what is now commonly known as religion for a lot of people.
Yeah, somebody was talking about like, why did ancient humans get visited much more often? It's like because they couldn't fight back, and they couldn't also like explain it and follow them and all this other shit. And it's like, imagine like you're us now, and you go to a planet and they're like throwing rocks at you, and it's like, okay, like eventually they're gonna stop and they're gonna get sick of it, and like we're gonna be able to fight them back. Well, but then you go back and then they have fucking nukes, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm never visiting them again, because they were throwing rocks at me the first time I went, and even after I helped them, I went back 100 years later, and for us that's nothing. Me being, the advanced race, I went back 100 years later and they're fucking throwing spears at me. Then went back and they had arrows and then guns. and then that's when I stopped going because that shit hurt, you know. And it's like, like imagine like, so it's like they were visiting us and they saw us and they helped us out and they're like,
and now we're
no big deal. And
dissecting
it's like,
them.
yeah, and you see like you see these like hieroglyphics and like the gods are like these men with like gray skin and they have helmets on and they're like 7 feet tall and like they look similar to humans but they're a little different. They have 3 fingers or whatever. And like, why do they decide to draw them that way? Like, why do cultures share so many similar like mythical beings? Like they share like dragons across different, you know, religions and cultures, and you're like,
well, I think
how you know.
I
so
think
it's like
also with religion is like over time. So more or less, my hot take is like I see religion a lot of times as almost like a scapegoat. Like I think it's something that a lot of people use to justify shitty things.
It's belief.
Or the opposite. They're like, oh, I wasn't a child of God, so I was doing bad stuff, and now I'm a child of God, so I'm a good person. And be like,
yeah,
well,
and,
no,
you know,
if you're gonna continue, if you're not like, if you're a good person, just be a good person. Like, I don't know, like to me, having a reason, having a whole thing behind it, that's just weird to me personally. But also, I feel like the more that people just come dependent on it, either through like generational, like I feel like honestly a lot of black people, like I feel like the reason a lot of black people, because I know a lot of black people who are Christian or they talk about God a lot, but they're not actually practicing Christians or anything. And I think it's just kind of like, I what I'm about to say, don't know if I'm going to keep it in the episode because it might be really fucked up. I'm just saying it now to say it because it is a thought. Slavery. I feel like a lot of slaves fell into religion because it was like slavery was so bad, it was so unbelievable that it was like someone has to be responsible for this. That's not us.
The greatest scam ever pulled,
yeah,
was convincing people they had a white god.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say.
I think the devil quote that you were gonna say.
Oh, from Usual Suspects, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
That's for some reason what I thought Austin was saying, and then
the greatest scam ever pulled was that the fact is convincing people that they had a white god. It was introducing these poor, beaten, destroyed Africans. These white people are like, oh well, this is what God intended for you. He has a plan. Like this is where you belong. This is where you fit into society. And they still believe that shit in the South. And it's like, dude, they won. And like I personally think that's part of what's holding brown and black people back. It's like, you let these people come to where you lived natively and were ruling the land. You were ruling over this land. You had dominion over the animals and the plants. And then they said, what you believe is why you're the way you are is wrong. And then we give you this religion, and then we take you from where you are and destroy you, beat you down to the barest you can be as a human. And then you still are like, yeah, what they said was right though. It's like, what? Why would you believe anything that fucking person told you?
That's the thing. So connecting to like the Egyptians and being visited more often is like, again, I think, you know, a lot of Africans and you know, maybe Asian cultures and just a lot of non-European, because they kind of seem to be where things diverged. And that a lot of those people, I think, were like, we know there's a higher power out, but we're not gonna like we're not gonna say you're God. Like that's the thing, is I feel like European religion was like, there's one dude, that one dude is who religion. Okay. I don't know.
That spread to Europe, but yeah.
There we go.
They start monotheistic religions like started in the Middle East, like the big three, and then they spread like.
But it stemmed from like pantheons of gods, and like it stemmed from the idea there were multiple gods, because even in religions that still believe there are multiple gods, there is almost always a god of gods,
Zeus.
So it always stemmed from an idea that there was a higher power and a higher force, or one thing controlling all.
What is Odin the god of?
The idea
he's the All-Father. He's the All-Father.
He's the
Uh,
god of
What's the
gods.
difference between Odin and Zeus?
It's pretty much the same thing.
There is no
Pretty much the
difference.
same thing. Except, okay, so Odin spent his whole time, and the reason he lost his eyes, he spent his whole time looking for Ragnarok, which was supposed to be the end of pretty much like Norse
It's the
mythology.
apocalypse.
Yeah. So he spent his whole time like searching and preparing for that. That like it ruined him and like it caused him to lose sight, like literally.
you guys,
But like, good.
I was gonna say, when you guys think of the image of God, like you hear, like in terms of Christianity, when you think of God, what is the person that you see? Like, describe him to me.
Zeus.
Big ass white dude with
Zeus.
the
Yeah,
beard.
it's
Zeus.
the dude from the Michelangelo Adam.
He has like a perfect triangular fucking. It's the guy from
Big old white beard.
It's Disney Zeus.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I literally think of Zeus, big white guy with a big beard, muscly, long
in
hair,
like a white
white.
so
or a bald white. He's
But
always
that's
got a
also
beard
because of
though.
like paintings too. Like when I was growing up in my house, we had a lot of like religious paintings and things that stem from Eastern Orthodox / also half Catholic because my parents were one of each. But it's not necessarily that we believe that that's literally God. It's just obviously a painting of him.
It's a representation. Yeah.
here's
It's
the
one of
thing:
many.
is the reason we have that image is because Greeks, they had their pantheons of Zeus and all that kind of stuff, Zeus, Athena, all those people, and then Italians, they just loved to jerk off Greek. They just loved everything that Greece did. And so, who's the Roman equivalent?
Italians didn't have the Roman gods.
What's that?
That was gonna say Italians didn't
are
have Roman
Romans.
gods.
Greece was
Yeah.
different.
Well, but I'm saying they're
Jupiter.
literally the exact same thing.
Yeah, Jupiter is the
like
same as
to a
Zeus.
T. It's Jupiter.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And so once the idea of pantheons went away and it was replaced by the Roman Catholic Church, they had like the Roman pantheon in Rome, some big, beautiful, like in a religious space. What they did once Christianity became a thing is they just put halos over everybody. So they were statues to Greek gods like Zeus, and then to Roman gods like Jupiter.
Just made 'em
It was
saints.
all of the people who were in these old
Oh, yeah.
and then they just put a halo
Yeah.
over it. And that's
We all know
how
that
God
Catholicism just stole from pagan.
Well,
I mean, but like everything stole from everything, and it was just like the
Yeah.
Catholics were incredibly lazy. The original Christians and the Catholics, they were incredibly lazy. They were just like, all right, and copy paste.
well, do you guys know about like why Jesus is portrayed the way Jesus is? It's actually like a fucking slap to the face to like Catholicism and Christianity. It's kind of funny. So, as we all know, Jesus was like in the Middle East, and like, or not Jesus. Jesus grew up in the Middle East, like Bethlehem and Israel and all that stuff. Like Jesus was brown. He was a brown dude.
Palestinian.
But
And people forget Jesus was Jewish.
yeah, he was a brown
He was
Jewish
a Palestinian
dude.
Jew.
And what's funny is, so like the painting that we know of Jesus with like Jared Leto, so pretty much, damn, second battery's already dying.
Mine's about to die too. Like, literally.
We're
Yeah, like I
almost
said, I gotta
done.
go soon.
No, but so the guy who painted like Jesus, that was his boyfriend, like his lover. And they like asked him, they're like, you need to paint Jesus like to be a white dude, basically.
It's hot.
And he like based
That's
it
why Jesus
on
is
his
hot?
lover. Yeah, he based
Damn,
it on
you hate
his
to see it.
lover.
8-pack Jesus, man. You're like, why is Jesus fucking
This
shredded?
dude was
'Cause he's a-
horny when he was painting.
He's just this-
for 40 days and he was still a brick shit house.
he was just like, check these guns out, just 8-pack. You're like, damn.
He was like, I've been dead for 3 days and I've been working out for 30.
Well, when I was
Fun
raised
fact, I'm
Catholic.
Jose's godfather.
Oh yeah, that's true.
What?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
Jose's godfather.
Tanner's my godfather because I
Yep.
didn't know anybody else who was Catholic, and then
Yeah.
yep, so I'm technically part of Tanner's family. But I don't like religion / believe in religion, cause like growing up Catholic, I definitely and still believe that it's used to indoctrinate and make people follow a certain lifestyle. And it's very much like, and it's not like a
control.
theology where like, hey, this is to better you and you do it in your own way. It's more like it's definitely controlling, and like if you don't do this, you're gonna be punished, you're gonna go to hell, you're gonna suffer for eternity. Which I think like as humans has affected us a lot, because then we look at jail and it's like you're gonna suffer here and then you're gonna suffer in the afterlife.
Well, it's fear. It's
Yeah,
just implemented fear, but it
and
also arguably is implemented hope, and I think that's why
Yeah.
it's a double-edged
sure,
sword.
but
This is the last thing I'll say on it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
at the end of the day, what religion, I to me, religion has always been used as a way to harm humanity more than it has to like cure it. Like if you look at the Holocaust, that's people killing Jews because of their like religion, what they think, what they believe. If you look at the Crusades, like a lot of people died fighting for beliefs. And then, like we fast forward to today, if I was to try and keep track of how many gods there were and how they're all supposed to be the one true God, and then I told everybody to fight for it, like there'd be a massacre of humanity.
Yeah.
And
Or the shit with
like,
Palestine, like it's happening today.
yeah,
This was
and it's
happening 700 years ago, and it's happening now.
and like I've had this discussion a lot recently, just because we like I talk about like right now I'm in Frankenstein and I'm writing about Paradise Lost, and it's just this concept of creation and this concept of God, like at its core, is something similar to what Vlad said. It's like to create something to simplify our existence. We are here because, God has a plan for us and we don't have to think about, necessarily ourselves. We just do something, we're like, oh, God intended that to be. It simplifies our lives, but at the same time, like, does it simplify it too far? And then as well, like when
It's an
you
excuse.
believe, yeah, it's an excuse to do things. And for me, that's like, that takes away from what it means to be a human, to believe in something more powerful when, like,
Why
we're
aren't we good
supposed to
enough?
be, yeah, when
Right.
we're supposed to be searching for an equal society. Why would we believe that we come from something more powerful? Like, if we're all supposed to be equal, we're disproving that by believing in something that's more powerful than we can ever be.
It's inadvertently classist in the
Mhm.
simplest terms. It's
I mean,
the
it promotes classism
simple,
and racism and
most
sexism.
most basic rather form of classism, I think.
Also, it's just like extremely fucked up if you think about like the beginning of it, of being like, oh my God, God is this person who loves us unconditionally. He's there for us. Da, da, da. If you look at the Adam and Eve story where he was like, hey, I'm gonna love you unconditionally, but I got one condition. And then it's just like, cool, you broke that condition. Now I'm gonna send you out in the world. And it's like,
The Christian God is a jealous
what?
God. He's jealous that you have found. It's like, don't idolize other things. Don't have sex before marriage. Do these things in my name. He's jealous that you found meaning in other things. And
Jealousy's a sin.
it takes it away. Yeah. And so it's like, that's the Marcus Aurelius quote is, it's like, if I get there and God sees, I'm sitting before God and I lived a good life and I helped people and I was good to people, and he says, but you didn't do it in my name, then that's not a God I want to pray to. That's not a God that I want to serve, because he didn't want me to do it for the right reasons. I did it for him in his name, and like I'll walk backwards into hell for that,
Yeah.
like if that's the point.
But it makes me think of, I don't know what it stems from, but the Lex Luthor quote from Batman v Superman. Like I
God
know
is all powerful, he cannot be all good.
Yeah. He's like, I've learned if God is all powerful, he cannot be all good. And if God is all good, then he cannot be all powerful.
He cannot be all powerful.
Yeah. Well, it's funny as shit because there's some really bad animation that started on Facebook. I think I saw it on YouTube, but it's like this parody account called God, which is funny because it's super shifted into like just liberal politics. And he's
Always
like, the
does.
word of God is and you're just like, whoa, chill, man. But
Always
there's like
has.
they do this skit where they're like they hold a press conference, like these people hold a press conference where they're like, yo, God isn't real or something, and he comes down and he's like, oh, you're like blasphemy, da-da-da, and some fucking nerd comes up and he's like, I have a fucking paradox for you, God. If you're all powerful, then you should be able to make a rock that you cannot lift, but if you can't lift it, then you are not all powerful. And then God's just like, ah, fuck, and then
It just explodes.
the skit ends with God killing the dude and being like, I can do what I want, I'm God. And
You
you're
just reminded me of the YouTube
all right,
video. I
fuck
wanted
that
to show
guy.
you.
all right, well, with that Jose, thank you for being our first guest. It was
Like,
a
yeah, that was
pleasure.
The first
having
and last
you, buddy.
guest of Indistinct Chatter.
God.
Thank you for having me.
Come back again sometime, friend. It was good.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please do. Y'all, it's been season 1 of Indistinct Chatter. We're gonna take a couple weeks off and hopefully we'll have some different some changes are happening.
I'll be in a new apartment. That'll be
Hey,
spicy.
You ruined the chain.
It's spicy meatball.
Austin,
I'm
you're
gonna
getting a
have
desk. Austin's getting
Yeah, I
a
won't be sitting on my bed.
Lad's getting a new apartment. Griffin and I
Like
are probably going to be
Griffin?
the same.
I might
Griffin
be
won't be on the show
self-worth
anymore?
back.
Self-worth.
Fingers
That's
crossed.
good.
I'll still be
Not bad.
here and drunk. Yeah, I'm Tanner.
I'm Austin.
Griffin.
I'm Vlad.
Thanks
Love
for
that.
watching, y'all. Oh shit.
You fucking monster.